Sports Talk 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
And the Nashville Predators knock off the bound for history Boston Bruins here tonight. 2-1 the final score.
It wasn't just another win for this team. What made this one so special?
Well, it was something that we had talked with our guys about before the game, and obviously what had gone on in Nashville was, hit home to people in the organization, people in the city of Nashville, and even, Ryan McDonough didn't fly with the team yesterday either. With his daughter was close to a school, their school's in lockdown, and it's something that we talked with our guys about. That we're on a platform here as professional athletes and coaches, and the city of Nashville means a lot to these people, and we wanted to put an effort for the first responders, for the people that were involved in the incident, the families, the school, and we're just really proud of the guys. It was something we talked about prior to the game, and make what happened tonight special, like put forth a special effort that could represent Nashville the right way, and the fighting spirit that the city had, the first responders had, and everyone involved. So really proud of the guys.
Welcome into Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe, Adam Vingan in for Jared today. And yes, the Predators snap a 7-game winning streak for the Bruins. They win 2-1 in Boston. And as Emma Lindgren said, asking the question, it wasn't just another win. John Hines on that win last night. Hope you're having a great Wednesday. Adam, welcome in. How are you?
I'm good. Good to be back. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you. Ian Safar behind the glass. Ian, how you doing?
What up, what up?
He's ready to rock and roll, as always. But yeah, goals by Cody Glass and Cole Smith. Pasternak strikes with less than a second left, but 2-1 is the final, and the Predators beat the best team in the National Hockey League for 2 very important points. They're 3 points out of a playoff spot. And Adam, I mean, that part of it, the hockey part of it, is obviously significant. This is a team that traded off a lot, really like the plan that they have in place there. But now you got guys that are hurt, and basically fielded the Milwaukee Admirals with Ryan McDonough and UC Saros and a few others last night and beat the Boston Bruins. That part's important, but everything that has happened in our city, what happened on Monday at the Covenant School, the team putting a city and a community on their back and going and getting an emotional win was something special to see.
Yes, and it's been a couple of days, but it still really hurts to think about what happened at the Covenant School. As a parent, as a young parent myself, it definitely hits different when you have children. And it's been a hard day. It's been a hard couple days in my house, just trying to process it. I can't even imagine what, the families of the victims are going through. I do not want to diminish that at all. But, being a parent and thinking about, 3 9-year-olds who died needlessly the other day, it just makes me sick to my stomach. But, to the point of the game, sports is usually is used as a healer of sorts, and that is what the Predators were motivated to do, and that's what they set out, and that's what they did last night. Now, Chase, you are a betting man. I am not a betting man. Something tells me you would not have put money down on a Predators regulation win in Boston last night.
No, and I don't think a lot of people would have.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know how much money was lost on that particular game.
I'll tell you this real quick. There was a better Bleacher Report put this out, a guy that basically he bet on what the final score would be.
Mm-hmm.
It was plus 8,000 to be 2-0, and he bet $50 on it. And Pasternak robbed him of $4,000.
That's why you need to bet responsibly, everybody. But to the greater point, meanwhile the Winnipeg Jets are falling apart. Rick Bowness had some interesting comments about his team last night, to the effect of, if there are guys on this team that think they are giving maximum effort, they're dreaming. Like they're that, to paraphrase, their coaches called them out, which is never a good sign. But the fact that the Jets and by extension the Flames, although the Flames did win last night, have not played well. The Predators have stayed in the race against all odds. They are 7-5-2 since the trade deadline. which has been enough to keep them in the race. And, here's a trivia question for you, because I was curious about this last night. Who was the highest paid forward in the Predators lineup last night?
Highest paid forward
by cap hit
in the lineup. Man.
Got to be Sissons, right?
Yeah, I would say Sissons.
It was Colton Sissons,
Okay.
who makes less than $3 million per season on average. And a team that, and I crunched these numbers earlier. The top 6 last night, which was Luke Evangelista, Cody Glass, Igor Afanasiev, Kiefer Sherwood, Philip Tomasino, and Tommy Novak, have a combined, I believe it was 439 games of NHL experience. And they beat the Boston Bruins, as Pete said, bound for history. Brad Marchand said after the game that the Bruins took the Predators lightly. They probably looked at the roster, looked at the injuries, and said, we can give ourselves 70% effort in this game and probably still win. And that obviously didn't happen. So, I've been very impressed by what I've seen from the Predators over the past month. It would have been so easy for them to just phone it in. Trading away so many players, so many important players injured. I think it would have been, no one would have blamed them outside of the dressing room for just finish the season. Just get your money and go enjoy your summer. But they're playing hard, and I commend them for that.
The thing that I really like is, they're in this race. They're 3 points out of a playoff spot. Whether they make it or not, who knows? That, to me, I look at it, if they make it, that's just gravy. That's just because of the plan that David Poile and Barry Trotz have now put in place of looking more towards the future, of kind of being a team in transition, which is what they needed to do. And, you can sit here and you can argue that it was a year too late that they did it, whatever. They're at that point now. Is that with the injuries, you're seeing young guys and you're seeing them make an impact. Luke Evangelista is one of them. He joined Michelle and I earlier today on Chase and Michelle, and I'm so impressed by this young man and how mature he is. But I asked him about the significance of the win last night, what it meant for the team and for Nashville.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough time and a really emotional time, obviously, in Nashville. And I think, sometimes you just got to take a step back and realize that, some things are bigger than just the game of hockey. And, Coach Hines came in and talked to us yesterday morning and before the game and had a really good talk with us about how we could, make a difference for the people of Nashville and, make them proud last night. And, I hope we did just that.
The kid's barely 21 years old, and this is I've interviewed him now. I've seen him at Smashville Live, and you just hear the maturity, and that gets me really excited, for what he can become, and he's going to have ups and downs, and I think everybody right now is believing that he's going to be on this team. He's now on the team and going to be on the team next year. We've seen guys. Phil Tomasino is a prime example of they play in the NHL. They show that they're not quite there. They go back, get a little more seasoning. And with Barry Trotz at the helm as GM, I could see some of that happening. But I think just seeing these young guys and how they're responding, that is what should get Preds fans the most excited moving forward.
Yeah, and I think you've seen, the player I've been most impressed with of that younger group is Tommy Novak.
Yeah.
And Tommy Novak has been a consistent point producer since returning to the lineup, a month and a half ago. Mm-hmm. Philip Tomasino's been good. Luke Evangelista's been good. Tommy Novak to me is the player that stood out, and even Cody Glass. I know that Cody Glass has been on the team all season, but now he's getting that opportunity that he didn't really have here before, and to go back further into his career, didn't really have in Vegas either. Now, some of that was injury related, but you're seeing the potential of what made Cody Glass a top 10 draft pick, a few years ago, and are these players going to be core players one day? I don't know. But I certainly think they can be, essential players that, that if they're not core players, are those, complementary players that are very important in winning in the NHL. And, it's, I think, I have an opinion here that may be a bit unpopular with some Predators fans.
Ooh.
But I think that based on what we've seen from the Predators over the past month, considering all of the trades and all the injuries, and considering, as I just said, the fact that this team could have easily phoned it in. I think that
Are you going with somebody keeping a job?
Yes, I am.
Okay, hold that, because that's where I'm going next.
Okay.
That's because I was going to ask you about this, and I am thinking I'm going to be surprised by your answer.
I think this is what we call in the radio business a teaser.
Yes, because that's where I knew when I knew you were coming in today. I was like, I have to bring this up because I brought it up with David Beauclair yesterday when he was in. But we will do that next. What Adam thinks this means for John Hines. That is coming up next. Join 102.5 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament, benefiting Souls for Souls on June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs to support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have a chance to win awesome prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at theGameNashville.com/golf.
185! Every team needs a quarterback. 185! That's why we have
Hasselbeck, bootleg, rollout, toss, touchdown.
Tim.
You can run good plays at the right time.
ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck gives his expertise on all things NFL.
You evaluate players, and then you're turning them over to the coaching staff.
Every Tuesday at noon.
At the right time.
With Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Tim on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Last year, Jerry was all like, hey, I'm going to go to the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix this year. Then he didn't. Instead, he decided to weed his garden. And he missed an August weekend of IndyCar racing, super truck racing, even night racing, all through downtown Nashville. Sure, old Jer had a lot of weeds to pull, but Jerry also totally sucks. Hey, don't suck like Jerry. Get your tickets at MusicCityGP.com for August 4th through 6th. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. Get amped.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. It's that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Anyone want to tell me what happened? Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Can you talk a little bit about the impact of those players from start of the year, Milwaukee guys like Tomasino, Evangelista, Tommy Novak especially, that have been such a big part of this team and a big part of the run lately?
Yeah, I think a lot of the players that have come up, they've had different experiences here. We've had a lot of changes in our lineup, so but I just think maturity and understanding how to play the right way and the rigors of the NHL, and those guys have come up and had big impacts. They're playing in big roles and important roles, and it's nice to see them come along in maturity and in their mindset about being a pro at the NHL level, but also in the way that they play on the ice.
Predators head coach John Hines last night after the win, 2-1 in Boston. Back here is Stillman and Company, Chase McCabe and Adam Vingan here with you on this Wednesday. Jared out for the rest of the week on vacation. He'll be back on Monday. But we were just discussing how has this run affected John Hines and his job. Now, I'm gonna preface all this by saying, from what I've gathered from the organization, his seat was never hot. That it was, David Poile always supported him. It seems like that support was there. Now, Barry Trotz, when he was asked about him, he said, I need to get to know John. I don't know John very well. There's been, he's been on road trips and has been around John Hines and as they've gotten to know each other. But everything that I have gathered is they were going to always keep John Hines. It's more the fan base and some of the media. And, I was one that I kind of looked at. I could see Barry Trotz wanting to get his own guy. I could see if things, completely go in the gutter that they would make a change. But that hasn't happened. They're 3 points out of a playoff spot. They're winning with young players. They're winning with injuries. And so I kind of view it as that's only going to continue to help him. And as Barry Trotz, who's going to be the new GM, evaluates his current head coach, what that can mean moving forward with him. So you were going to go down that road of what you thought with John Hines, so I give you the floor.
Yes, so after I set up that excellent teaser.
That was great.
Yes, journalism, radio, sports talk 101 right there, kids. Take notes. As I was saying, considering everything that this team has experienced in the past month or so, from trading multiple veteran players, losing multiple veteran players because of injury, I think the fact that this team has stayed in the race and has played, 500-ish hockey, NHL 500-ish hockey since the trade deadline and a little bit before, I think John Hines has earned the right to keep his job to start next season. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to be the coach. That he deserves to be the coach all of next season. If things don't go well to start next season and Barry Trotz wants to change coaches, I'm not going to discount that. But let's play a little, call and response here for a second, Chase. Barry Trotz is a first-time general manager. Which league executive has Barry Trotz spent the most time around since he's been in the NHL?
David Poile.
Correct. What do we know about David Poile and coaches?
Doesn't like to fire him.
No. I think David has had.
He kind of halfway fired Barry. I don't even know.
Technically, contract was not renewed, right?
Yeah.
So does that count? I'm not sure. But how many coaches has he had? Five? Not here, but in Washington too. I think combined.
No. It's 5 or 6.
Yes, in 40 years.
In 40 years,
as an executive, as a general manager. I think he had both Murray brothers, Jim Schoenfeld. I guess. Ron Wilson would have joined after he left, I think. So, yeah, I think the Barry Trotz, Peter Laviolette.
I think he's had
6. I think it's 5. I think it's 6. Anyway, 5 or 6 coaches and 4 decades as a general manager. Another thing you have to understand, as Barry Trotz has mentioned, Barry Trotz has been a coach for a very long time. And Barry knows the challenges of being a coach on a team that doesn't have a lot of expectations. I think Barry can empathize with what John Hines is going through right now. Excuse me. So when you combine all of that, I just have a hard time at this point seeing the Predators making a coaching change before the start of next season. I think John Hines will enter next season as the coach, and we'll see what happens from there. Now, if things don't go well and they need a spark and Barry wants to make a change, that's perfectly fine. I just think that considering what we know about Barry Trotz, what we know about David Poile, and everything like that, and just the way the team has been playing, I think that John has earned the right to keep his job through the start of next season.
So here's kind of I agree with you. I believe that he has, and now my questions are this, or observations. Let's not even say questions. So my observation, knowing Barry Trotz like I know Barry Trotz, when he said he was going to evaluate and get to know John Hines, I 100% believe him and know that that's what he was going to do. I don't think there was any preconceived notion coming into this when he signed the dotted line that was going to make him, general manager of the Nashville Predators on July 1st, that he was coming in going, he's going to be the guy, or he's not going to be the guy, what have you. So let's sit with that. Now, where I think the butt could come in is
the butt could come in.
Yeah,
I just want you to. I just was trying to.
Yes,
I just thought it was a funny phrase.
John Hines could keep his job. I guess it's an if, not a but. But that is if Carl Taylor, if they really think as highly of Carl Taylor as I believe they do, and they think that Carl Taylor is ready to be an NHL coach, and Carl Taylor is getting calls to be an NHL coach, and this is what David Beauclair said yesterday, and I 100% agree with him, then that might change their way of thinking, especially with the young players that they're going to have on this team. Do they think, okay, we like you, John, but we want to keep Carl Taylor, and this is how we have to do it. Now, they could go to Carl Taylor, and they could go to John Hines and say, hey, John, we're going to keep you. We need you to you're going to have to make some changes to your staff. Carl Taylor's going to be a part of your staff. He's going to be an assistant coach. And Carl, would have to obviously be cool with that, but maybe that's, the compromise. And then
something tells me Carl Taylor would be okay being an NHL assistant coach.
Yeah, I think so
he's
too.
earned the right.
And again, going back to Barry Trotz, and Beauclair pointed this out too, and I remember this. What did Barry always do? He always went and got the guy in Milwaukee and made him an assistant. Peter Horacek was one. Lane Lambert was one. And that was kind of his way of promoting. So that could certainly make sense. So I'm kind of with you on it, that I think that enough has been done for at least an argument for him to keep the job. Now, again, I don't know what they're thinking. And the other part of this is, I guess technically, if they get to the end of the season, they're not going to wait till July 1 when Barry Trotz takes over. They would make a move, soon after the season. If they're going to make a move, that counts for David Poile. That doesn't, even though Barry, I'm sure, would have a lot to do with that decision, it's still on David Poile's watch, because you're going to have a new coach in before the draft.
Yeah, and I think Carl Taylor, has earned the right to get a look on an NHL bench. I think he's looking for that opportunity. I think he's paid his dues at lower levels. I was impressed with Carl last season, I believe it was, when he filled in on the bench for a couple of games. Or was that 2 seasons ago? I don't even remember. Everything.
I think it was last year.
I think it was last season. He knows, as you said, he knows a lot of these players. He's coached a lot of these players. And the veteran players have respect for him as well. I think about if John is not the coach, I think about who could be the next coach of this team, and I think it should be someone who, like Barry Trotz, when he was hired by the Predators, is someone who's looking for their first big opportunity. And, there's a name that has, that comes to mind for me. And this is completely this is just throwing a name out there. This is not being reported or anything like that. But when Barry was in Washington, the head coach of his AHL team, the Hershey Bears, was a gentleman by the name of Spencer Carberry. And Spencer Carberry is now an assistant coach with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Spencer Carberry was a coach of the ECHL with the South Carolina Stingrays. I believe he's won a Coach of the Year award there. He coached the Hershey Bears in the AHL when Barry was in Washington, and he obviously, did well enough to get an NHL assistant coaching job in Toronto, where I think he's in charge of their power play, which is very good. So to me, someone like that, like a Spencer Carberry, is the kind of coach that I think the Predators should look to hire if they make a coaching change. I mean, Carl Taylor fits that mold too. He's been an AHL head coach.
But you're connecting dots.
Yes.
Which is important.
Yes. Carl Taylor has been an AHL head coach, a successful one at that. I think he, I wonder if, I wonder if he, do I think he's ready to be a head coach? I'm not sure, but I could see him being an assistant coach next season or soon, whether it's here or somewhere else. But I do think that John Hines, he should be commended. And I know a lot of Predators fans are tired of John Hines. I get it. You know, I have been perhaps one of John Hines' most staunchest defenders over the time that he's been here. But I do think that, you know, he's not a perfect coach by any stretch. You know, I saw his response to the question after the second Seattle game about Eeli Tolvanen, which was very blunt.
Yeah.
Didn't look great, didn't sound great. You know, and you know, Eeli Tolvanen going off to Seattle and having a great career does not reflect well on John as well as the entire organization. But I do think that this team has never quit on John Hines. This has never been an issue of he's quote unquote lost the room, because if they wanted to tune him out, considering where they are, absolutely could. But they haven't. And teams that play like the Predators played last night against Boston, considering everything that's going on, not just in the dressing room but in the community, teams that are quit on their coach don't play like that. Period. So I think that reflects well on John.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And the other thing, too, is, when you connect dots, if you think over the years with Barry Trotz and his assistant coaches, he hasn't had a ton of them. I mean, it's kind of the same, track record as David in hiring head coaches, but you had Paul Gardner and Brent Peterson, and then Gardner's gone, and then you have Peter Horachek and Brent Peterson. Brent's retired. Peter Horachek's a scout now. If Lane Lambert wasn't the head coach of the Islanders, if he had not gotten that job, then I would have, and he's still an assistant somewhere, I would have said Lane Lambert's going to be the head coach of the Nashville Predators. That would have been pretty easy for me to say. But that's not the case. And so I think, your point of either staying with John, getting to know John, and he's impressed enough with John that he hangs on to him, or someone that was like him and was a minor league coach that was waiting for his shot, then he would pay it forward and give that person their shot, which he could obviously still do even if he were to retain John Hines after this year.
And by the way, I just wanted to confirm that Spencer Carberry was both the coach of the year in the ECHL and the AHL.
Yeah.
And, it reminds me a little bit of Jared Bednar. Jared Bednar was a coach. He actually coached the Stingrays as well in the ECHL. I think he won a championship there. And he won a championship in the AHL as well, with, I believe, the Blue Jackets affiliate. Well, maybe I'm wrong. I can't. It was Cleveland, I believe. Either way, now we've seen what he has become in Colorado. I mean, I think that is the type of coach that the Predators should look to hire if they decide to make a change, is someone who's looking for their first big opportunity, who's a proven winner at lower levels. And I think that is why someone like Carl Taylor or Spencer Carberry comes to mind for me.
We'll continue this with in just a second, because you got some people that want to weigh in on the text line that have some thoughts, and I want to run them by you.
Good thoughts or bad thoughts?
I think they're interesting thoughts.
Okay.
On this. What do you think?
Be kind.
Do you agree with Adam? Has John Hines done enough to at least get a look to keep his job to start the season next year? 615-737-1025. Chris Sanders coming up at 2:45. It's Stillman and Company. Chase and Adam in for Jared today. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
I've been telling you about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical for years, and that's because Hiller has been taking great care of my home since I got into the home ownership business, and they can do the same for you. And let them do that. Sometimes replacing equipment in your home can be overlooked until something breaks, but there are actually big problems that can come from old, outdated HVAC systems. Older systems have higher repair costs and require more maintenance and will result in higher utility bills. And even worse, they can break down when you need them the most. Don't let that happen. This month during Hiller's Vintage Showdown, they're giving away a free HVAC system to the owner of the oldest unit. It's easy to enter. Just go online to happyhiller.com and submit your picture of your old unit. Plus, everybody wins with trade-in credits and 0% interest financing for up to 48 months on replacements. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. My guys, proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Hiller. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hey, this is Phil Forsberg. And this is Smashville.
Forsberg a shot, broken up in front, give it back to Forsberg, and here come the Habs.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 1025 The Game.
Have you seen the selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches they now have at Genesis Diamonds? If not, prepare to be amazed.
If people really know the watch world, they come in and they're in shock. They're like, I cannot believe you have this selection here. They're able to see them, touch them, feel them.
Meet Genesis watch expert Charlie Rivers, who says over the past few years, Genesis buyers have scoured the world to build a collection of luxury pre-owned Rolexes, including all the hard-to-find models.
Daytonas, Pandas, Sky Dwellers, a huge selection of Submariners, Hulks, Kermits, anything that you could ever possibly want. We have every luxury pre-owned Rolex that we have here. We ensure that it's in pristine condition.
So come in today and find the timepiece of your dreams at Genesis. Or if you already own a Rolex and are looking to trade for a different model or even sell it, Genesis can help you get top dollar.
If you have a Rolex, definitely bring it in. I would love to see it and do a complimentary evaluation on it and see what we can do for you.
Genesis Diamonds, now with one of the largest selections of luxury pre-owned Rolexes in America. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
This week's Nashville's best deal is the all-new Hot Works Goodlettsville off Long Hollow Pike. Right now, join for just $39 in time for their grand opening April 1st. That's $60 off at thegamenashville.com/deals. Hot Works offers 24/7 infrared fitness in 15 and 30-minute virtually led sauna sessions. Get more workout in less time at Hot Works. And right now, save $60 on enrollment at thegamenashville.com/deals.
102.5 and 106.3, The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robbie and Rexrode, 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle, 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace, 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company, 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3, The Game.
Hey, this is Jordan Rogers, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
Can you talk a little bit about the impact of those players? Start of the year, Milwaukee guys like Tomasino, Evangelista, Tommy Novak, especially that have been such a big part of this team and a big part of the run lately.
Yeah, I think a lot of the players that have come up, they've had different experiences here. We've had a lot of changes in our lineup, so but I just think maturity and understanding how to play the right way and the rigors of the NHL, and those guys have come up and had big impacts. They're playing in big roles and important roles, and it's nice to see them come along in maturity and in their mindset about being a pro at the NHL level, but also in the way that they play on the ice.
John Hines last night talking about Milwaukee players back here. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe, Adam Vingan hanging out with you on this Wednesday. We'll talk some football with Chris Sanders in about 15 minutes, but taking your calls and your texts, 615-737-1025, our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Have you seen enough from John Hines to warrant him being back next year? And again, I reference the organization. It's always kind of felt like they weren't going to make that change. It's more the fan base. It's more some of the media that has gone down that road. So, what we think may not matter at this point. But some of you have weighed in on our text line. Shane in the Borough says, here's the problem I see with Hines. He tends to always defer to veteran players over the young guys. At the start of the season, he chose to keep the AHL veteran players over Tomasino as an example. He also gives veterans a very long leash when they're playing poorly and has an extremely short leash on younger players when they make mistakes by reducing their ice time or sending them to the press box. It seems that he only gives the young players more playing time with a longer leash when it's the only choice available. So what do you think about that?
Well, I understand the texter's point. My question back would be, what coach isn't like that though? Now, yeah. And it's a hard question to answer because, if you are a Predators fan, you probably aren't paying attention to the kinds of things that John Cooper is doing, or for the Lightning, or Rick Bowness is doing with the Jets, or what have you. You're probably not paying that close attention to, different coaches' tendencies. But I would guess that most coaches who coach veteran teams often defer to veteran players over young players. And, you can make, I've heard, from my colleagues in DC that Peter Laviolette's having the same issue in Washington with the Capitals, relying on veteran players versus younger players, especially with where that team is. By the way, just so you know, I put this on Twitter yesterday because Elliot Freeman reported that, things have kind of hit an impasse in contract talks between the Capitals and Peter Laviolette, whose contract expires at the end of the season. Peter Laviolette has the same amount of playoff series wins with the Capitals that John Hines has with the Predators. A big, fat goose egg.
His contract's already up?
Yes.
Isn't this year 2?
3.
This is year 3?
Yeah, 2020. Yeah, this is year 3.
Wow.
So Peter Laviolette has won as many playoff series with the Capitals as John Hines has with the Predators. So, maybe it's a little apples to oranges. I don't know. Anyway, look, I thought, the decision to send Philip Tomasino to the American League at the beginning of the season was a bit questionable. And having Kiefer Sherwood start the season, I get it. But I don't think that John is unique in that regard. I think if you're coaching a veteran team, you tend to rely on veteran players. Unless you're like a rebuilding team, like in Anaheim. Dallas Eakins is relying on young players because that's kind of what they have, and that team's not very good. But with the Predators, a team that was expected to compete at the start of the season, you often rely on the players that have gotten you there in the past versus younger players.
Yeah, and my thing on Tomasino, and Shane is a big fan and a big listener, and I know follows the team, and so, but I think a lot of fans will look at a young player like that, and if he doesn't make the team or they start him in Milwaukee, and it's like he was here last year, and there's like, this narrative that okay, Hines is picking the veterans and he's not focused on developing the younger players. I actually think it's quite the opposite. I believe that it was the right move to send Phil Tomasino to Milwaukee and have him play the top 6 because that's where you want him here. And I think you're seeing it's paid off. And I go back to a quote that Barry Trotz had on the Preds official podcast with Darren and Kara, where he said, I would rather overcook a guy in the minors in Milwaukee if I want them to be top 6 than call them up and have them play 4th line minutes, because that's what was happening with Phil Tomasino. He was on the team last year and he did okay, but he was basically a bottom 6 guy, and that's not what he's meant to be. That's not what they want him to be. So I don't have an issue with him picking a Kiefer Sherwood or what have you over a Phil Tomasino if that means Phil Tomasino is going to get the playing time in Milwaukee. And now that has been called back up, I think you've seen it pay off. So I don't have an issue with that whatsoever.
Yeah, and, very rarely do players make that jump immediately. It takes a special type of player, to go right from being a first-round pick to being a regular NHL player. I heard Daryl Sutter, the Flames coach, talk the other day, and he was being asked a question about, I can't remember the context of the question, but he was being asked about first-round picks and adjusting to the league, and he goes, by just calling them a first-round pick, there are 32 picks in the first round. Like, it's number 2 is different from number 28 in terms of their ability and their readiness to be in the NHL right away. So, Tomasino was a later in the round, I believe. And I think, I've liked what I've seen from him, and I remember this with Ellie Tolvanen, and I know this is a sore subject, but I think a lot of us were a bit perplexed when the Predators sent Ellie Tolvanen to the American League a few years ago, but they needed him to strengthen his all-around game, and I think he did. Now, that's another conversation about whether or not they utilized him properly, but he became a better player by going to the American League. He became a much better player without the puck. Now, did they use him to his strength when he was here? That's up for debate, but he wouldn't have been ready for that job if he hadn't gone to the American League first.
I think the thing with Tolvanen is I think we can sit here and go, you know what, they probably screwed the pooch on that one. And they just, whether it was they tried to get him to change his game too much and held him to that, and therefore that hurt what he was good at, or if he, and it got to the point where he just needed a change of scenery. I don't know. The fact of the matter is he's gone now. And whether this sustains with Seattle and that's the player he actually is, we'll find out. But I just think it stinks and it's unfortunate, but it's just time to move on with that. Let's go to the phones real quick. 615-737-1025. Scott wants to weigh in on the roster next year. Scott, welcome in.
Yeah, looking at who's under contract, it pretty much looks like they've got a roster set for next year. But sort of on Adam's opinion, if he thinks they're going to shop any more veterans, Johansson or Duchesne, or are they going to use that cap space to maybe try to buy another moderately more expensive forward to throw in the mix? Afanasiev, would he benefit by going back down and playing starting next year in Milwaukee? And, are they going to bring back guys like Proudfoot and McCarron? I'd like to see McCarron back, and I don't know if Borowiecki's available to come back, but without Jeannot, it'd be nice to have those two guys at least on the bench to put in when you need a scrapper.
All right, thanks for the call, Scott.
So, to answer Scott's question about, any other, surgery that they could perform on the roster, last time I think the last time we were here last month, we talked about the potential of buying out Ryan Johansson.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was Robbie who talked about earlier this week about the idea that.
Well, I'll tell you what I said yesterday. Okay. I do not believe that Matt Duchene and Ryan Johansson, that both of them are back next year.
Okay.
I think one will be gone.
And who's that to you?
I think ideally, if you could trade Duchene, he's going to give you the most return, even though it's not going to be a ton, and you may have to eat some money. That's probably where I would go, because then you could maybe burn another year with Johansson and then decide to buy him out if you felt like you still needed to. But I just don't think there's value for Johansson via a trade, even if you were to retain salary. And so that's probably the route I would go. But I just have a feeling one of those two will be gone.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think it would be easier, I wonder if it would be easier to move Johansson because he's got one less year on his contract. Duchene has been a better player in the last couple of years. The other interesting thing about Matt Duchene is that he has a modified no trade clause that takes effect at starting next season. So he has, it's not a lot of control. I think according to Cap Friendly, he can submit a 7-team no trade list, which means that he can submit a team of 7 trades he will not, he refuses to be traded to. But if they trade him before then, they can do it. They can trade him to whoever they want. So if that's something they want to do, I think they would need to do it pretty quickly in the off season. But yeah, I mean, I'd be curious to see. Look, I didn't think they were going to be able to trade Matthias Ekholm and Mikhail Granlund at the trade deadline, and they did. So I don't want to say that no other move is impossible. Just because if you would have told me that the Predators would have traded those two players at the deadline, I would have said, yeah, probably not. But they did.
Yeah. So looking at free agency for next year, I mean, there's some heavy hitters that at least right now could be unrestricted free agents, but I just don't see the Predators going that route.
Well, hear me out. Patrick Kane. A number 88 Predators jersey, you'd wear it. And I'm not talking about you, Chase. I'm talking to the listeners.
Oh, yeah.
They might be gagging in their car right now, spitting out their soda, but you'd buy one.
So not Tarasenko?
If I had to choose between the two, that's a good question. I mean, Tarasenko, brings up certain feelings in Predators fans too. But just for the sheer entertainment value of Patrick Kane in a Predators jersey, I would choose Patrick Kane. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think it'd be hilarious.
I think he's going back to Chicago. That's what I think is going to happen.
Interesting.
That's the scuttlebutt I get from Chicago too.
Scuttlebutt. Where are you getting this? Where do you get this scuttlebutt? Randy Porch? Are you talking to Randy Porch?
I mean, I can't reveal sources.
Yeah.
You know that.
Listening to too much Eric Church, probably.
And Luke Combs.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. But good discussion. We'll get back into the Predators a little bit later. But coming up next, Chris Sanders, forever Titans wide receiver, will join us. That's all ahead here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
I've been talking to you about TriStar Moving for years now. That's because I moved with them over 2 years ago, and it was an unbelievable experience. Moving can be very difficult. It can be very stressful. TriStar is going to take that out for you. Anytime somebody asks me about moving, I give them the number to TriStar, and I say, give them a call and just get a bid. Because when you get a bid from TriStar, you're going to realize, man, it's more affordable than the other guys, and their sales team is so easy to work with, unlike the other guys. And I know this because I use TriStar. So if you're looking to move, give them a call today, 615-640-1219. Or visit them online at nashvillemoving.org/radio. They'll give you 10% off your entire move. And that's a lot of money in a move because, well, moving's expensive. So let them take the hassle out of your move. Check one list off your to-do thing because at the end of the day, you don't want to be stressed out by moving. 615-640-1219 or visit them online at nashvillemoving.org/radio. That's TriStar Moving. Told you about them for years. My official movers.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
They can be a fully formed model of what they're going to be offensively moving forward.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company.
You don't know what's going to happen with the roster or the team.
He'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
This is a good lesson about sports and what we think and what actually happens.
Chad Withrow on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Willie Donick here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. The official 2022 stats are in, and the Pella brand is rated #1 by Nashville homeowners for windows and doors. One reason, Nashville homeowners selected Pella Windows #1 for the highest quality craftsmanship. Another key stat, Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville is also rated #1 for the brand that stands behind their product. If you need new doors or windows, the choice is clear. Choose the experts at Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Go to PellaofNashville.com.
Sometimes the best part of the day is when the day is done. The Rusty Nail in Hermitage has been the best part of the day for many since their doors opened. They provide a great local atmosphere with a big back patio and volleyball courts, plus great drinks like $3 two-lane beer drafts and great food, especially the wings. Call now to reserve your private events or corporate parties, or simply call up a few old pals and tell them to meet you down at the Rusty Nail. See you there. Cheers.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-326-7765 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-326-7765. That's 800-326-7765. What do you have to lose? Call 800-326-7765. Again, 800-326-7765.
They're insightful.
To me, you got a left guard situation you got to figure out.
Credible.
I trust this guy more than this guy.
But sometimes they just argue.
Why do you like the NFL playoffs? Those teams lose.
I don't want college football to be the NFL.
When they get...
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode are Robbie and Rexrode. Weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe and Adam Vingan in today for Jared. And as we do every Wednesday at 2:45, we say hello to forever Titans wide receiver Chris Sanders. Chris, my man, what's up?
Superman, how you doing, man? I appreciate you, man. Everything good?
Oh, I'm feeling great. It's it's good to be here. Obviously, it's been a tough few days in our city. And look, Chris, you're a teacher, you're a coach. You're there at NBA. You're around obviously older kids, but you're around kids every day, and that has been your post-NFL career. Yeah. So I know we can all find some sort of connection to what happened on Monday at the Covenant School, but I have to have a feeling your heart's been heavy just like the rest of us.
It is. I mean, because the thing about it is it's hard, especially when it's close to home. I mean, the school is about 5 minutes away from us, but then also the sad part about the whole situation is, we had a teacher here that lost his daughter. So, when you hear that and you hear people walking around campus with sad hearts, it's just tough. And then you look at the students, you look in their eyes because they're in despair. And then I had a student come in, my office yesterday that he was supposed to take the ACT test, but he was so distraught that we had to calm him down. So it's a lot of things going on. But the good thing about it is, man, we got to come together and not just talk about the problem, but fix the problem by changing people's hearts.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. So, but you know what? We're trying to make people laugh and have a good time and smile, because I think we could all do a little bit more smiling these days. So
yeah, and we do. I mean, and love each other more. And I know that I tell you this all the time, and I call you periodically. And I know this is a sports show, but I think sometimes we got to take the time out and not just tell the people that are important in their lives that we love them when something bad happens, but just pick up the phone and call your mom that you may be mad at, or call your dad that you might be mad at, or call a sibling that you're mad at, and say, you know what? It doesn't even matter. I just want to let you know how much I love you. So I didn't mean to get on my soapbox.
Yeah. No, it's awesome that you do that. And
thank you.
We appreciate it. Chris Sanders is with us, forever Titans wide receiver. So the owners' meeting's going on in Phoenix, and that started the week. And we know Mike Vrabel was there with the coaches' breakfast. Ran Carthon was there with all the GMs. And we'll get to some of the rule changes in a second. But there's continuing to be question marks about this team and the roster. And I think with Ryan Tannehill, it feels like Ran Carthon and Mike Vrabel, once again, committal but non-committal, keeping that door cracked open just in case. And I'll tell you this, just to add to it, I'm starting to feel more and more they're going to draft a quarterback in the first round. I'm just whether it's 11 or they move back, I'm just starting to feel like it might happen.
I mean, if you look at the guys that are out there now, I mean, you have Bridgewater that's out there. I mean, I don't think he's better than Tannehill. Baker Mayfield's gone, Garoppolo's gone, and Jacoby Brissett is gone. So they're definitely going to have to go get a quarterback, but it depends on what round. I mean, if you're jumping up to go, I know you're not going to get Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud or Will Levis. Those guys might be gone, but there might be a guy like a Tanner McVee from Stanford or a Clayton Tune from Houston, somebody that you can draft in the third and fourth round. Was that and Hooker, absolutely. You can draft them, but also compete against Willis, because the thing about it is, I know everybody's counting out Malik Willis, and I don't think it's fair because he came into the situation to where you automatically put him at the second position as opposed to letting him learn, and then the offensive line is doing bad. You don't have receivers to throw to, so Malik Willis might come and develop, and we might not even be talking about drafting a quarterback or bringing the quarterback in.
So, okay, along those lines, because you're the perfect person to ask this to, and I am not comparing Steve McNair and Malik Willis. I am asking your opinion as a guy that you were on the then Tennessee Oilers and Houston Oilers, and you saw Steve McNair as a rookie, and you saw Steve McNair as a second-year guy and a third-year guy. What was it like from your point of view to see his progression, and how much can a quarterback truly progress from year one to year two?
I mean, he trusts the process, and the coaches still believed in him, even though he's struggling. And I'm gonna say this, and a lot of people may get mad at me, but Malik Willis was further along than Mac. But here's the thing I love Mac is Mac had a chance to learn. He was behind Chandler. Chandler was a great quarterback, but he had a chance to learn. And once he learned and understood how to do defense, how to understand picking up the blitz, and how to understand where his safety value was, and going through the progression in his reads, then that's when he won his MVP. But the thing about it is with Malik Willis, we're so quick to give up on him. Let him develop. He's a rookie. He got drafted third round. He came into a situation where it was terrible. Just like Steve McNair, trust the process, and coaches believed in him. He won the MVP. I'm not saying that Malik Willis is going to win the MVP, but if you trust the process, you still might have a diamond in this guy. So, even though he struggled, I think he can develop into a good quarterback.
Talking with Chris Sanders. So they haven't addressed wide receiver. Has Ran Carthon been over there at NBA talking to you, or you got some routes left in you, Chris? Because I don't know what they're going to do at this point.
Hey, I went and dusted my shoes off since 1925, and I'm ready. I got two routes. I got a Bubba route and a hitch route because I might hurt my hamstring. But hey, if he needs a wide receiver, I'll be out there. But I think that they're going to have to address it, because if you look at the receivers that are in that receiver room right now, you got Traylon Burks, you got Kyle Phillips, you got Ray City Math, and I don't know about NWI, but
you got him.
Yeah, and he might be in there, but you're going to have to go in the draft and go get a wide receiver. And the cat that I love the most is from The Ohio State University, Jackson Smith-Njigba. He may not be an explosive guy down the field, but he's a complete wide receiver. He runs the routes. He understands how to get the guy off the spot, and he catches the deep ball well. And if he's not there, then now you get into the second round. You get like a Zay Flowers, a Rashid Rice from SMU. You got Parker Washington from Penn State. You got Jonathan Mingo from Ole Miss. So there's some talent in there that can come in and help Traylon Burks.
Yeah. Oh, I think so too. So I'll ask you this as a analyst now. If the Titans, I'm gonna name a position and then pick at 11. They're not trading out. Just say they pick at 11.
Okay.
And you tell me whether you're going to be like, okay, I'm good with it, or you're mad about it.
Okay.
Wide receiver.
I'll be happy.
Quarterback.
I wouldn't be happy.
Defensive lineman.
Happy.
Offensive lineman.
Extremely happy.
Okay. I mean, that's kind of the – if you look at mocks, I mean, I don't see them taking a running back there.
They could.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Gibbs kid out of Alabama,
he's a beast.
I like him, but I feel like he's later. He's not at 11. Linebacker, I mean, I wouldn't be excited about that.
The linebacker position's okay. It's not as strong as the offensive tackles and wide receivers and running backs.
Yeah. So I don't know. And you brought up Will Levis earlier. I'm drinking that Kool-Aid, and I think
I'm drinking it too.
I think he's slipping a little bit too, and so I don't know. There's just a hunch there.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that the fans got to understand too, and we got to understand too, that the 11th pick might not be a sexy pick. It could be an offensive lineman, like the lineman from Northwestern, like Peter Skolarski. I'm not saying he's going to beat up Paris Johnson, or even Darnell Wright from Tennessee. So it's going to be some value there to get that offensive line, even though it might not be the sexy pick. But at the end of the day, we can get a great wide receiver, we can get a great running back, we can have all these pieces at the skill position. But if we don't have nobody up front to block, it could be the same thing that happened last year, where your offensive line struggles.
Do you like Jalen Hyatt?
He's interesting. The reason why I say he's interesting because when he has off coverage, he's electric. He's electric. But when the Alabama defensive back got in his mustache and started pressing with no tic tac, all that stuff, he couldn't get off the press. And when you get in this league, if a defensive coordinator knows that you're fast but you can't get off the press, they're going to jam you in your mouth. And the thing about it is, if he can't get off the press, if he doesn't understand how to stack the defensive back or lie with your eyes and do all those things as a wide receiver at the line of scrimmage, you're going to struggle. You may be fast, but you got to have the proper technique, to do that. And right now, he's a speed guy. He can run the post. He can run the go routes. But getting off the line of scrimmage, that's where he struggles. And if he's at 11 and he's still there at 11, I will bypass him because I think there's some other receivers that's better than him.
Okay. All right. Interesting stuff. Chris, thanks as always. Always appreciate you. Love you, man. And
love you too.
We'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate you, my man. Bye-bye.
All right. Chris Sanders, forever Titans wide receiver, joining us here on the program. Coming up next, were we wrong about the Titans spending? I heard something interesting this morning that kind of makes me think we were. We'll discuss that next here on 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Stuck at work without a radio?
Wait a minute. Disastrous.
I hate that.
It's got to be there.
That's okay. Download the Game Nashville app or go to thegamenashville.com and listen live. We are Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3, The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Now's the time to get a great deal on select Kubota compact tractors, rated #1 in durability and owner experience. They're designed for easy operation and feature performance-matched attachments. Right now, put 0 down and get 0% APR for up to 72 months, plus save up to $800 on select equipment. Now through June 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Visit Coleman Tractor Company, your local Kubota dealer in Clarksville, Nashville, Paris, and White House today.
Cards issued by Celtic Bank, member FDIC. Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 3.5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
Hey, it's John Tesh. Let me give you a little advice when shopping for auto and home insurance. All those insurance company ads use cute and funny characters for one reason: to distract you from realizing you're only getting one option, since that's all they offer. And all those average savings are just hype, since they never tell you how many people they actually helped, so you end up wasting time getting one quote at a time, hoping to be one of those lucky people. Well, not at Xander Insurance. They have built a system like no other. Xander shops over 24 top-rated companies to find you the best rate. Best of all, they keep reviewing your coverage every year to make sure your rates stay competitive. Nobody else does that. Call 800-356-1780 or compare online at Xander.com and find out why Xander clients stay with them year after year. It's just the smarter way to compare and save. No cute and funny characters needed. That's 800-356-1780 or visit Xander.com.
Now, your Game Center update.
This Game Center update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. The Nashville Predators kept their playoff hopes alive with a big 2-1 win over the Boston Bruins last night. The win combined with the Jets' loss, the Preds are now 3 points behind Winnipeg for the final wildcard spot. Head coach John Hines after the game on keeping Boston's high-powered offense at bay.
You know, we made hard plays in the danger areas of the ice. I thought our puck decisions were strong. We didn't turn pucks over. We tried not to give them any easy offense because they're a deadly team. And then I think when we were called upon to defend, we defended the net front very well. I thought we defended the backside of the net very well. We had commitment to shot blocking, and that's what you need. A good team like that's going to come with a hard push, and that's when the details of your game need to be on point. And they were. We got some big saves from our goalie, but I thought defensively we played pretty solid.
Nashville is back in action on Thursday night in Pittsburgh to take on Sidney Crosby and the Penguins. Hear the latest edition of Preds Insiders with Robbie Stanley beginning at 6 o'clock tonight. And coming up at 7, we have some NBA on ESPN radio action as Dallas takes on Philly. This update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Ian Safar for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 1025 and 106.3.
A gunny performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 1025 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 1025, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe, Adam Vingan in today for Jared Stillman from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. Stillman and Company is driven by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. 615-737-1025. That's our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So the narrative that I had, and I know a lot of others had, going into this season and watching what the Tennessee Titans have done in free agency, is that they weren't spending a whole lot. And it wasn't necessarily salary cap. It was just they weren't spending a lot of cash. And that Amy Adams-Strunk was wanting to conserve some of that cash to go towards the new stadium. Well, in a report Paul Kaharski had on paulkaharski.com, it's looking like 2027 will be the year that the new stadium will open, at least at the earliest. That's when it will be. And he was on Robbie and Rexrode earlier today and got asked the question about spending and whether the stadium had anything to do with that.
Just in general, PK, do you believe that just the stadium
situation is in any way influencing how the Titans are going about their business and building a football team. And I'm talking financially with Amy Adams-Strunk.
I don't. And I did going into the owners meeting, and that's one thing I got from there. I think certainly the finances of this year for the football team are salary cap driven, not cash money driven. And the league is so behind this, and she's in good financial health. So I don't think that there's any qualms about that. I think too, this kind of removes. Look, 2027 is far away, right? In terms of team building and all of that. I don't think it's a factor in anything anymore for right now, right? You're not doing any planning for 2027 like, oh, we need to be good at 2020. It's just too far off to kind of set your schedule for it now, to me. So you worry about it again maybe in a year when you're setting things, or in 2 years. And I always thought 2026 seemed ambitious.
That was Paul Kaharski earlier today. And so he basically says he's kind of heard and people he's talked to that it's just they're trying to get the cap right. And I know that, Jared, who usually sits in this seat, will tell you that the cap is fake. I am of the belief that it's not necessarily fake, but it's easily manipulated and it's easily moldable. I compared it earlier today like a thing of Play-Doh. That's basically what it is. And sometimes it's monopoly money and you can move stuff around, but eventually you have to pay the bill. It's like a credit card. You can push stuff down the line and you can fill the credit card up. Eventually, that credit company is going to call and go, hey, where's our money? And that's kind of what it is. And so I think that they're just trying, Rand Carthon's looking at it of I'd rather go ahead and pay the bill now and get ahead of it and make some cuts and not spend as much and let things even out. Tannehill's contract can get worked out. Henry's contract can get worked out after this year, and then you go from there. And so when I heard Paul say that this morning, it kind of made me go, okay, maybe they're not being cheap like I thought they were.
I can't lie to you. When you talked about Play-Doh, the first thing that popped into my head was fun to play with, not to eat.
Yeah.
See, because of me, they have a warning. There's your Simpsons reference.
That's a good one.
Don't eat Play-Doh, kids.
Does Arlo like the Play-Doh?
Arlo doesn't have Play-Doh.
Okay.
Not because I don't trust him not to eat it when he's headbutting me in the junk. But anyway, back to the matter at hand. The NFL salary cap, as someone who covers the NHL, is so fascinating to me because it's just so dang complicated compared to the NHL. In the NHL, you have a hard cap. And contracts are guaranteed. Once you sign it, that's what you get. There's no renegotiating. There's not all these void years and all this other stuff. So I'm a bit of a novice when it comes to the NFL salary cap. But, with the Titans on track to open their new stadium in the next 3-4 years, I think it would, I think the important thing would be for them to feel like they've got a contending team to open that stadium. And if that means trimming some of the fat right now, and we all know the cuts they've made. We've talked plenty about Kevin Byard and the reported pay cut. If the Titans want to cut a little money off the budget now, make some savvy moves as they have in free agency and not spend too much money. I don't think that's a dumb thing to do.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I
think what's most important is that when that stadium opens, that they have a Super Bowl caliber team. I think you need to open a new stadium with a team of that caliber.
I agree. But, they can't, to Paul's point, I don't think they can start necessarily planning that now.
No, they absolutely cannot.
So I think it's okay to take a few steps back, be in a transition kind of like the Predators are, and then see what happens. Now, if they do what I'm starting to think they might and take a quarterback with their draft pick this year, wherever that may end up being, then you are setting yourself up for the future. That that guy, especially if you draft a guy in the first round, then the hope is that that's your quarterback when you open the stadium. But so that could certainly be a part of it. But I also think they're in a good position to do that because you have Tannehill this year, and so the guy rides the pine. That's it. He doesn't play. And I know that was the hope last year with Malik Willis, but Malik Willis was always going to be a project quarterback. And I'm kind of in agreement with a lot of people that he's not it, and he's not going to be it. And that was a low risk, high reward type pick in the third round, and it's probably going to be a miss, and you move on. But they haven't addressed backup quarterback, which again makes me kind of lean towards that they might end up drafting one. And so that's but that's not going to cost you a whole lot. And so I just think it's interesting with the finances and the way they are right now. And, fans have to be prepared for this team that most sports books have their win total at 7.5 this year. That's the lowest it's been in about 5 years. It was, I think, 8.5 last year. I lean under right now. And I haven't, I know the opponents, but I haven't seen the schedule. The opponents we know, they're out there. But I think there's a really good chance that this team's probably going to miss the playoffs 2 years in a row. Unless something really crazy happens.
I would assume the betting favorite is Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think, I think one thing that I honestly had completely forgotten about Calvin Ridley. I'm not gonna lie, but now
he's gonna wear 0.
He's gonna wear 0. But look, I think we all had a bit of a laugh at the Jaguars' expense last season when they signed Christian Kirk to that contract, and Christian Kirk had a good year.
Mm-hmm.
And I Trevor Lawrence had a would you call it a breakout year? It was quite good. He made the plays that he needed to make more often than not near the end of the season. So yeah, you look. I mean, really, I look at the other two teams. Houston's made a lot of moves this offseason. But I still think they're going to be bad, and Indianapolis is interesting because they're always interesting. They've got Gardner Minshew at quarterback right now. They're probably going to draft a quarterback, and their GM has come out and said that when a player like Lamar Jackson becomes available, you have to look into it. I'd be interested to see what happens if the Colts got Lamar Jackson. I mean,
that would be something.
But I think the Titans, as of right now, I feel like the moves they've made have mostly been lateral moves.
Yeah.
Like they haven't made, I don't think they're worse, but I don't think they're better. I think they're basically I think the caliber of team they are right now is the same as they were at the end of last season.
Yeah. It could even argue that they're a little worse.
Yeah, it depends on what happens with Kevin Byard. We'll see what happens with that, and what happens with Ryan Tannehill. I just, when you think about the players they've lost, Taylor Lewan wasn't playing much because he was hurt. Same with Bud Dupree.
Yeah.
Robert Woods was not effective last year. Now is Murphy Bunting going to be that much better in the secondary? I don't know, but it's
it's a fair question. But coming up next, I just alluded to it. The more and more I think about it and look at mocks and everything, the more I kind of feel that there could be a quarterback drafted by the Tennessee Titans, and what that could mean moving forward. We'll discuss that next. It's Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at noon.
That fits the mentality of what they're going to do.
Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton joins Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace to talk all things Titans and NFL.
Much more creative in how you go about calling certain plays.
He's got opinions and insights on the two-tone blue.
That doesn't mean that you can't have great or don't need great quarterback play.
Catch Hutton every Wednesday at noon on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
20 years ago, when Genesis Diamonds came to Nashville, this was one of the most expensive cities in America for diamond jewelry. Our radical approach and no middleman pricing changed that forever. And now we're doing it again, this time with lab-grown diamonds. We were shocked to find out what the other mall stores and the other big radio advertisers were charging. They sell their platinum 4-carat VS2 lab-grown earrings for $15,720. we sell them for $6,900. Their 3.08 carat lab-grown round diamond with G-Color VS2 clarity is $10,045. We sell it for $5,900. Looks like they might be going back to the old ways. If they're charging this much on lab-grown diamonds, kind of makes you wonder what else they're selling at the same outrageous markup. Nashville, we are not going backwards. At Genesis Diamonds, our non-commissioned trusted advisors are here to give you all the information with details you can trust and prices you can count on. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Al Gill here from my friends at Dunkin'. Warm up and feel the love with Dunkin'. Treat yourself and a loved one to a brown butter toffee hot or iced latte, which is superb paired with the bacon avocado tomato sandwich. Be sure to try the all-new stuffed biscuit bites. It's a warm biscuit dough wrapped around a mixture of bacon, scrambled egg, and cheddar cheese. Visit us at our newly remodeled Dunkin' on Briley Parkway in Nashville or the new Dunkin' in Mount Juliet and our other locations throughout Middle Tennessee. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Terms apply.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. It's that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
It's that time of year, the insanity, the madness, the tournament, your friends showing up at your house to watch the games and eat all your food. You want to be a good host, but you don't want total chaos, and Central Barbecue has the solution. Bulk order some slow smoked barbecue and pick it up right before tip-off. Stop by either Nashville location or place an order at eatcbq.com. This year, show your friends you care about them. Feed them Central Barbecue. 2 locations in Hillsboro and Capitol View. Smoke is our sauce.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025thegame and on Instagram at 1025thegame Nashville.
Hey!
Oh yeah, and like us on Facebook too. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
And what in the world are the Titans going to do at backup quarterback?
I think it's going to be a rookie.
Ooh.
That's my and it's not the rookie from last year. I think they will make it a competition in some way. But I absolutely would be drafting a quarterback and pairing them behind Tannehill, at least for as you start the season. I'm all on board with the idea that Tannehill's the starter this year, and then you don't owe him or Henry anything after this season, and you have a chance to develop your QB with, let's be honest, with the offensive coordinator that Vrabel tried to hire a couple of years ago when Arthur Smith left, but the Texans blocked them. And now he's got the guy, albeit he may have wanted someone else and was waiting on someone else to chat with them, and that didn't come down. So they end back up with Kelly. So I like their options for the backup QB position. And if they're drafting a quarterback in where they are at 11, that guy's going to be the starter by the end of the season, if not as we get going here, based on how they move Tannehill.
That was Jonathan Hutton earlier today on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. He believes a rookie will be the backup quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, which means they're going to draft a quarterback. Shocked face. Chase McCabe, Adam Vinton.
I forgot this is not a visual medium, unless you're watching us on YouTube.
Yeah, you can watch us on YouTube. And
other
Twitch
places.
and Twitter and Facebook Live, all driven by Superbook. So thanks for doing that. But I think I'm starting to drink the Kool-Aid that they're going to draft a quarterback. And I saw this earlier today. This is via Music City Bets, who got this from the FanDuel Sportsbook. But Titans odds movement time for the NFL draft is what the tweet thread starts with. On Tuesday, an offensive lineman was minus 200. It's now minus 180. So that's the favorite. Quarterback goes from 8-1 now to plus 270, as they will take at 11. And then MCB also notes that Anthony Richardson moves from 16-1 now to plus 850 to be drafted by the Titans. Will Levis at 6-1. So those are some odds to kind of pay attention to. So while an offensive lineman is still the favorite, quarterback seems to be moving up the rankings for the Tennessee Titans, and it feels like, and it goes back to you don't draft for need. You find the players, you identify the players that you believe are going to best fit your team, and then if they're available to you, then you go from there. And I think that's what Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel are doing right now, and I just have this weird feeling that they might take a quarterback. If they stay at 11, it would probably be Richardson or Will Levis. I hope it's Will Levis, and because I'm drinking the Kool-Aid on him, or I could see them potentially moving back in the first round, and that's where Hendon Hooker could come into play.
I mean, that would be a great story, right? Always good when a Tennessee Vol becomes a Tennessee Titan.
Yeah, well, I said earlier on Chase and Michelle, and I said this yesterday, and it's a pipe dream, but if they could somehow finagle it where they get enough picks where they could get Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt, and just keep the two VFLs together.
Do have a proof of concept there with the two of them. Yeah, the Malik Willis discourse is very interesting to me. Of course, the Titans' decision at the end of last season to start Josh Dobbs over Malik Willis when Josh Dobbs had just gotten to Tennessee in big games, I think speaks volumes about what the organization feels about Malik Willis. But I think Malik Willis, I think we all knew when he was drafted that he was a project. Now, what we saw from him wasn't inspiring necessarily, but I know a lot of people who are closer to the team, who report on the team daily and talk about the team daily, feel like they've seen enough from Malik Willis that he's not going to be much better than he is right now. I mean, it would be better to, but he would also, where did they draft him? Third round?
Malik Willis?
Yes.
Yeah, third round.
Yeah, I mean, if they decide to move on from him, it's not a huge loss. It's not like they wasted a first round pick on him. Remember how many people thought he was going to be a first round pick or last year? But why? Explain to me, as someone who doesn't watch Will Levis frequently, why you have started to sip the Kool-Aid, so to speak, on Will Levis.
Why have I?
Yes. Like why have you come around on Will Levis as a member of the Tennessee Titans?
Maybe I'm infatuated by the arm,
But Malik Willis had him great, and Malik Willis has an arm too.
I know, but I also go back to, I'm not necessarily going to punch. I'm not going to punch Will Levis. I'm not going to punish.
I think that would not help your cause if you came here if you decided to punch Will Levis.
I'm not going to punish Will Levis based on last year. When I look at him with the talent that he had in 21 with Kentucky, that gets me excited because that shows me that he knows how to use good talent. And so if they can build the talent around him, whether it's here or wherever, then I think he could have a nice career. He's got the arm strength. I think the accuracy is pretty good. He can make plays. I think every quarterback today is somewhat mobile. I don't know if the true statue in the pocket really exists anymore. I don't think it can in today's NFL. But I don't know. There's something about him that I like. I think he's smart. You got to have a good QB IQ to play that position. And so I feel like he is the moldable NFL prospect that they're looking for.
Yeah,
and he could sit behind Tannehill for a year.
I mean, I think that's the important thing is, not putting that rookie quarterback immediately into a game. I think if you have Ryan Tannehill, it's important for him to start. And the "it's not my job to mentor him" comments last year, I think we're taken out.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to hear that again.
No, and I think they were taken out of context. But welcome to our world these days. Yeah, I mean, I am not, by admission, and people who have listened to this show know this, by admission, I am not a huge college football aficionado. So I haven't watched a lot of Will Levis. I hear about Will Levis and Anthony Richardson, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young. I know those names, and I've watched them in big games, but I cannot break down film for you as to why it makes them good. So I lean on you for that. But I know that Will Levis has been a highly regarded quarterback for a long time, and it would be I think it would be exciting for the Titans to have a hot shot quarterback. And we talked about the finances earlier. Rookie contracts aren't that much. And if you move on from Tannehill and you start a rookie, you're saving a lot of money. Whether it's this year or next year, you're saving a lot of money. So if you're looking to tighten that budget, that's one way to do it.
Yeah, and the thing is, if they take a quarterback, my hope is that they let him sit for a year. Go the Patrick Mahomes route, and you can do that because you have Tannehill. You have Tannehill for a year. He's Alex Smith in this situation, and then whoever you bring in. And I know a lot of people are high on Anthony Richardson, and I'm just not. And I think it's the lack of experience. Will Levis has, I think, 40 games under his belt in college, whereas Anthony Richardson has 13. But I know that Tehran is really, really bullish on Anthony Richardson, and there's a lot of people that look at him and think that he can be in the right offense and the right setup. He can be molded into a really good NFL quarterback. So, and maybe they're right, and maybe the Titans go that route and build the offense around him. But I don't know. I just don't know if I would go that route. Charles London coming in and being the quarterback's coach and the passing game coordinator, though, I feel like that hire was made for a rookie quarterback so they can develop them, and also maybe to an extent Malik Willis. But that and they may go that route if they don't take a QB, and they could say, Charles, see what you got, and then after a few months he walks in and goes, yeah, there's something here, or nope, there's nothing we can do. So I think Charles London, though, is going to end up being a pretty good hire for the Tennessee Titans in that sense.
Yeah,
so
and the last thing you want, think about what happened in New York with the Jets. Zach Wilson, what was he, the second or third pick in his draft? And he's been an unmitigated disaster.
Terrible.
And now you would hope, hope is the operative word here, because you're think about the quarterback who will be starting for the Jets, presumably with Aaron Rodgers, that Zach Wilson will get that. Well, I guess he had Joe Flacco, right? But the problem was Joe Flacco wasn't starting. It's different when the rookie is starting and you've got a backup veteran. Right. I think it's different when the veteran starter and a rookie backup. I think that the dynamic of that relationship is different. And Joe Flacco, of course, won a Super Bowl and has been around for a long time. Now, he's not that great anymore, but the Jets might have benefited from having Flacco start for a little bit while Zach Wilson learned instead of what actually happened, because we saw what happened. He got benched for Mike White. When that happens, it's not when that happens, it's not going so well.
Coming up next, how important can Charles London be for the Titans? We'll discuss that here shortly. Join 102.5 The Game and the Preds Energy Team at the Rusty Nail in Hermitage on Monday, April 3rd for the Preds Road Watch Party as your Nashville Predators take on the Dallas Stars. Enjoy a $3 2-lane draft beers, a great local atmosphere with a large outdoor patio and volleyball courts. Plus, try some of their great food, especially the wings. That's 102.5 The Game and the Preds Energy Team at the Rusty Nail on Monday, April 3rd. We will see you there.
I think it's a really good move.
TD, it's never the offseason for ESPN's Teron Davenport.
That's something you obviously have to look at.
He's always talking about what's next for the Tennessee Titans.
Quarterback is a really important thing that they have to get determined.
Check out TD, Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, and Friday mornings at 8:30. Plus, the Talkin' with TD podcast.
Looking forward to that.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
This week at the Electronic Express Markdown Mania event, get instant savings of up to 40% off in every department, including all 4K TVs, laptops and tablets, housewares, gaming consoles, speakers, and more. At Electronic Express, we have up to 50% off all your appliance needs in stock and ready to deliver. Plus, buy now, pay later with up to 3 years free financing. Shop the Markdown Mania sales event at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
What's up, everybody? Michelle Knezvik here for Superbook Sports. And listen, make 2023 the year you beat Vegas. Superbook Sports gives you the chance every week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. No fancy computer algorithms, no guys across the pond setting lines for American sports, just the best team of odds makers in the business behind the counter at Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, check out some of the best odds boosts and promo bets anywhere. Download the Superbook Sportsbook app or visit superbook.com to start your battle against Vegas right now. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
We do screen printing.
Music City Screen Prints.
We do embroidery.
Music City Screen Prints.
We do large format printing.
Music City Screen Prints.
We do promotional goods.
Music City Screen Prints.
We do graphic design.
Music City Screen Prints.
MCScreenprints.com. That's MCScreenprints with an S.com. 615-866-6010.
You think it, we print it.
Hey guys, Jeremy here, General Manager at Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars. We are the go-to spot in Nashville for the best old-fashioned, a nice relaxing cigar, and lots of high-end spirits and wine. Are cigars not your thing? No problem. We have the best ventilation system in the industry that provides a fresh, clean atmosphere for you and your friends. We are here to provide you a trendy, upscale experience in the heart of downtown. Check us out at 508 Church Street. Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars. Luxury redefined.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing in me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new plan. Nothing is everything.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
When you want live and local,
if they were just better at the offensive line,
you can be a contender in the AFC again.
They've had more winning seasons than not. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years?
The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
This is Greg McElroy, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
If you're at 11 and a chance to move up and get a guy like with the high ceiling, to me, is why Richardson is worth it. He also has the lowest floor, to me, of the 4 quarterbacks being discussed. But the high ceiling is above any of the other 3 that are going in the first round, at least consensus-wise going in the first round. Most of them top 10. I don't think the Titans get him at 11, but I do feel like the Titans are the most unpredictable team for where they sit, and having the new GM and not really knowing, okay, are they going all in one more time with Tannehill? Are they not? Or what are they looking for this offseason, and where are they trying to upgrade? If you bring in Richardson, it's a lot like the Bears treated Justin Fields. They signed Andy Dalton, and their team account that year tweeted out QB1. And then they drafted Justin Fields and doubled down on it, saying Andy Dalton was QB1. So it's not out of the realm of possibility they could do that here. I just don't think that Richardson's going to be around very long.
That was Jonathan Hutton earlier today on Caroline, Willie, and D. Mace. Chase McCabe, Adam Vingan in today for Jared Stillman here on Stillman & Company. Ian Safar on with us as well. Stillman & Company is, of course, delivered by TriStar Moving, TriStar Movers with 5-star service. So continuing the discussions on the Titans and what all has been happening with them and the quarterbacks in this draft and what that may mean. And I've said that I believe that the Titans may be looking at a quarterback and may take a quarterback at 11 if that person is available. And Mike Vrabel made a hire over the offseason to bring in Charles London to be the quarterback's coach and the passing game coordinator. Pat O'Hara's still on the team. He's an analyst now, somebody that has a history with Mike Vrabel. But I felt like that Vrabel looked at this, Adam, as he wanted a guy that could come in here and develop a quarterback, whether it's Malik Willis or if they draft somebody in this year's draft. And I know Teron Davenport talked to Arthur Smith, the former offensive coordinator, now the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, and he gave his thoughts on somebody he knows well that coached with him in Charles London.
On the field or off the field? Both. No, Charles is a fantastic football coach, really, really smart. All the things, a lot of things you guys see, you see on the practice fields, certain guys that, maybe are loud and braggadocious, and you think, oh, well, it's a really good coach, but you don't realize the dynamics, what goes into it, what goes into game planning day after day, the consistency. He's as good as anybody in the way he breaks down protections, which is really valuable for the quarterback, understanding from different perspectives. He's a great teacher and a great staff guy. So I think he'll be very beneficial. We hate to lose him, but I never want to hold somebody back from an opportunity that I can't immediately provide him. So we're sorry to lose Charles and wish him well. He's in a good place.
You know that Titan staff. How well do you think he'll fit in with those guys?
He can fit in well. And Charles has been in this business a long time. Done a lot of different jobs, done different roles. He's in a great place. He is. Great people, great staff, great city. They have to deal with you.
That's not going to be tough. You know that.
That was Teron Davenport talking with Arthur Smith as Charles London leaves his staff with the Atlanta Falcons and joins the Titans as the quarterback's coach and the pass game coordinator. And, I'm not familiar with all of Charles London's, accolades and don't know him like a lot of people might. But I know that, he and Vrabel crossed paths in Houston. I actually think that he was an offensive assistant here at one point in time back in 2011. But, I think Charles London, that was Mike Vrabel knew he had to upgrade that position and he had to have somebody that was going to help develop who was going to be the next quarterback. Whether Tannehill is here another year, another 2 years, they know that the time is coming for them to evaluate that spot and define what's next at the QB position. And I think London's going to help him do that.
Yeah. Again, I don't have a ton of data on Charles London, but I think that the decision that the Titans have made, the decisions that the Titans have made, over the offseason, namely moving on from Todd Downing and changing around their offensive coaching staff, I think was an important move considering how lackluster and uninspiring the Titans' offense looked more often than not last season. So, unfortunately, unlike our good friend TD, I can't speak to the exact impact that Charles London will have on this group. But I do think that the Titans were smart to make the moves that they did in general in terms of changing around the coaching staff, because clearly their offense was stagnant last season. It was painful to watch at times. And anything that removes that stink, including hiring Charles London, is a good thing for them.
Yeah, I believe it will be. So, and it could be if they take a receiver or they don't draft a quarterback at all and they end up sticking with Malik Willis, which I'm just not sure they can. I mean, they got to, one way or another, there's going to have to be another quarterback in camp, whether that's a veteran that's still out there, or I mean, I guess they could sign an undrafted free agent or draft somebody later in the draft, but who knows? Maybe the next Brock Purdy is going to be Mr. Irrelevant again, and it happens 2 years in a row. I doubt that, but I still think that it's incomplete when it comes to the backup quarterback position and what may be next. 615-737-1025. Let's go to another Adam in Portland, who is on the phone line driven by WilsonCountyHoney.com. Adam, what's up?
Chase, what's up, buddy?
Not much, man.
I'm irritated with you guys today, man. It's not just your show. It is clear. I only listen to 102.5 The Game, so I don't know what anybody else is saying, but I know, clear across this station, it's irritating because I feel like our offense last year sucked. Could you agree to that?
Yes.
It wasn't good. All
Sucked.
right. Is that all Malik Willis' fault?
No.
Why does everybody act like he's, a trash bag, man? Like, this dude is – I mean, it's just like, oh, we may draft a quarterback. Why? We fired a lot of people around him, but, the offense was historically bad. But it's, I'm seeing it mocked up. I'm seeing it, the Titans are going to trade up, maybe trade Jeffrey Simmons to get a quarterback. And then what? We got a third-round quarterback who – if you look at it this time last year, Chase, it's the same thing they're doing with Anthony Richardson they were doing with Malik. This dude's a boss with this crazy butt arm, and he's special talent, right? He's amazing. Some people had him going number 1 overall, and now that people are just throwing him away. And I will say that if Malik wasn't a good dude, then I probably wouldn't cheer as much. But you hear him speak, he just seems like a great dude. And I feel like he's being mistreated by local media.
Well, I'll say this: the last time we had a great dude at quarterback, it didn't work out either. So
Marcus, yeah,
I had to go there. But look, I hear what you're saying, Adam, and I appreciate the call. Thanks, bud. And I know that there are a few people like that. Okay, let's see with the new offensive coordinator. My thing is just you can't throw it. They didn't trust him to throw it, and every time he did, he was likely making a mistake. So I don't know how much you can just fix that. You can work on some things, but that we talk about these coaches that are quarterback gurus and quarterback whisperers, and the actual quarterback that they're working with has to do some of it. And I think he was really good at Liberty, but there's also a reason that the Titans were able to get him because he fell to the 3rd round. And so I don't know. I'm not necessarily writing him completely off, but I don't feel great about it that him ever becoming, a starter in this league.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be a starter now. I kind of defended Malik Willis a little bit, so I'm going to pretend that Adam in Portland wasn't talking about me. So I haven't completely crapped out on Malik Willis or crapped on Malik Willis. I don't think, again, I'm not an expert on that particular aspect, but I do think that what I saw last year was not that great. And like I said earlier, the fact that they had a journeyman quarterback with how many games of starting experience did Josh Dobbs have? 1, 2?
None.
None?
No, I think his first career start was here.
Oh, okay. I thought he might have had 1. But anyway, the fact that they thought they were more comfortable starting Josh Dobbs than Malik Willis, who had been in their program all year, I think says everything you need to know. But I'm not ready to write him off completely. I just don't think it looks that good right now.
Yep, I would agree with you. 737-1025 if you want to continue to weigh in on that. But coming up next, and we will get to some of your phones, but I do want to touch on tomorrow should be a national holiday. I've said this for a long time. It is one of my favorite. It might be my favorite day of the year. Opening day in the major leagues. And there are new rule changes that I am curious about. We'll discuss that coming up next. It is Chase and Adam in for Stillman and Company today on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Spring in and style up with huge savings on top athletic brands at your Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store in Franklin. Stay active this spring with up to 70% off the athletic styles you love. Shop deals on thousands of styles from top athletic apparel and footwear brands, like $10 tees, tanks, and shorts for the family, $20 swimwear, $20 golf polos, and running footwear for $60 or less. Find incredible deals and incredible style at your Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store in Franklin at Watson Glen.
20 years ago, when Genesis Diamonds came to Nashville, this was one of the most expensive cities in America for diamond jewelry. Our radical approach and no middleman pricing changed that forever. And now we're doing it again, this time with lab-grown diamonds. We were shocked to find out what the other mall stores and the other big radio advertisers were charging. They sell their platinum 4-carat VS2 lab-grown earrings for $15,720. We sell them for $6,900. Their 3.08 carat lab-grown round diamond with G-Color VS2 clarity is $10,045. We sell it for $5,900. Looks like they might be going back to the old ways. If they're charging this much on lab-grown diamonds, kind of makes you wonder what else they're selling at the same outrageous markup. Nashville, we are not going backwards. At Genesis Diamonds, our non-commissioned trusted advisors are here to give you all the information with details you can trust and prices you can count on. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. It's that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
The world is a vampire.
The world is a vampire tour. One massive show. The Smashing Pumpkins. Friday, September 8th, First Bank Amphitheater in Franklin, Tennessee. Special guests, Interpol. Rival Sons. The Smashing Pumpkins. On sale Friday, 10 a.m. at livenation.com. Part of the Farm Bureau Insurance Concert Series.
Start your day with a cup of Joe. Ugh, he's gonna think that's stupid. Wait, what? Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode are Robbie and Rexrode. There, that sounds better.
Thank you so much.
Weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I absolutely loved it. And basically, for listeners who aren't familiar, almost every part of what MLB is doing this year, we were the testing ground at AAA last year. The only part we didn't have that we will also have at like the MLB level is now no more shifting. You've got to have 2 infielders on the left of second and 2 on the right. You can't put the second baseman out in shallow right field to take away the left-handed batter who's got some power. So we're the same in that way this year as the major league level. But, yeah, we had the pitch clocks last year. They're wonderful. It didn't affect the runs per game. It wasn't as though everything was all of a sudden a 1-0 game because of the pitch clocks. It truly cut out the little bits and pieces of nothingness in a ball game that add up over time. If there's any MLB fan out there who's hesitant to like it or still not sure about it, trust me, you will over time like it. I think the players will adapt, some more easily than others. But, the first 2 weeks when we had it last year, it was extremely noticeable, and we had extremely quick games. Then pitchers started to realize, okay, that 15 seconds, that 20 seconds, that's a lot more time than I thought it was. And instead of delivering the next pitch with like 11 seconds left on the pitch clock, it was more like 3 or 4 seconds or 1 or 2.
That was Jeff Him, the voice of the Nashville Sounds, earlier today on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace discussing the new rules that will debut for Major League Baseball starting tomorrow. It is opening day in the majors. I think these rules, and we'll go through them in just a second, Adam, because, we're baseball fans, and, I'm excited. Going to be out at First Horizon Park on Friday, which I haven't told you that yet. We're going to be out at First Horizon Park on Friday.
We are?
We are.
Wow.
For our show. But
Take me out to the ball.
Please
game.
sing. We want that to
Take me out to the ball.
Oh, yeah. Another Simpsons reference.
Simpsons reference. Right. Frank Grimes, baby.
Oh, yes.
That's
Grimy.
exciting. I'm excited to be out there.
But they tested, guinea pigged all these rules last year in the minor leagues, and so that's why having Jeff on today to talk about that was smart, because he's seen it firsthand. So here are the big ones. The pitch timer that they will have in the majors. 15 seconds with the bases empty, 20 seconds with runners on base. Hitters get 1 timeout per plate appearance, must be in the batter's box with 8 seconds left on the clock. Pitchers get 2 disengagements, pickoff attempts, or step-offs per batter. Violations are considered to be a balk. Limits on pickoff attempts led to 26% increase in stolen base attempts in the minors. I'll get to that in a second. Pitch timer helped reduce game length by 25 minutes in the minors in 2022. So I like that, because baseball games can go way too long.
Yes, and as someone who has a love-hate relationship with the game of baseball, like I appreciate baseball. I like going to games, but I'm not a fan of a team, and it's not something I'm going to sit down and watch on television. So and to your point, the reason why is because the games are just so long, and before the advent of the pitch clock, some of those at bats could last several minutes, because the batter's got to step out and adjust his gloves, and something else. You need to scratch their butt. I don't know, but it just got to be a little bit, I think, as Jeff Hem said, the little bits and pieces that make these games longer than they need to be, they add up. And to your point, according to ESPN, the use of the pitch clock shaved 26 minutes off of spring training games this spring. So according to ESPN, spring training games lasted an average of 2 hours, 35 minutes compared to 3 hours, 1 minute last year. Major League Baseball games, regular season games, averaged 3 hours, 3 minutes last season. Like, to me, 2.5 hours is the right amount of time for a baseball game. Excluding extra innings, I've attended baseball games where a 9-inning game took 4 hours.
Right.
And it's not no weather delays, perfectly sunny day. 4 hours.
Yeah.
It's too long. It's too long. And that's why I think baseball has struggled, keeping the interest of casual viewers. And I think even diehards as well. I know that those rating numbers are out there. It's just because it's too slow.
Yeah.
Like, I think that this is a good compromise that still allows the competitive aspect of the pitcher versus batter matchup, but also doesn't take 10 minutes to get one guy out.
And so with these rules, they're trying to speed the game up, because they know they've lost fans, that fans are bored and don't want to sit there. And I know for me, like, minor league games were way too long. And I want a minor league game to go about 2 hours and 15 minutes, and that's it. I think that's what it should be. If a major league game goes a little bit long because you're seeing a pitcher's duel or a lot of hitting, what have you, then I can live with that. But one thing that Rob Manfred said and this was, I think this was Rob Manfred, but from MLB, that the goal here is to take this game and restore baseball to back when it was its most popular.
The game historically was played in a window 2.5 to 2:45, and in a lot of ways, we think we're restoring baseball to when it was the most popular.
And I love that. Like, if that's, where it's fast moving, I think that will be a better ratings getter. You'll get more butts and seats, which is obviously good. But the other thing with this is, if we're going to do this, if we're going to make these rule changes, I need them to make one more for me.
What's that?
Doubleheaders need to be 9 innings. Get rid of this 7-inning crap. I don't like it at all. It bugs me. A baseball game is 9 innings, not 7. And I'm probably in the minority on this. I haven't talked to Willie about it in a while. Willie is Mr. Baseball. Willie is Mr. Traditionalist and didn't like replay and that stuff for a long time. Even he has supported rule changes and that the games are too long. I don't like going, a doubleheader being 9 or being 7 innings. It should be 9. But
I think every baseball team should play like the Savannah Bananas. That would be my rule change.
I like that.
You're familiar with the Savannah
Bananas,
oh yeah,
right? I think they're coming here.
Oh dang.
Yeah, I think they're coming here.
I watched like a news segment on them on, I think, Real Sports on HBO, which I'm probably one of the few people that actually still watches Real Sports regularly, and I thought it was it's interesting, but yeah, I think as someone who is a casual baseball fan at most, and probably an apathetic, you can't really be an apathetic fan, that's sort of an oxymoron, but I like going to Sounds games mostly so I can eat and drink outside. I know that minor league baseball is mostly made for that purpose for a lot of people. My favorite thing at the ballpark, your favorite part of baseball is opening day. My favorite part of baseball is seeing all the ridiculous foods that are being, like which team is, unveiling a 6 patty burger with cereal on top with a ice cream cone. I don't know. Like, they make really weird stuff, but I always like that because I'll never actually eat it because I don't think I can actually.
It's like carny food.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly like
ballpark food's the best.
Like, ballpark food is delicious. First Horizon Park has delicious options.
Yes, they do.
I like going to games and enjoying that food. But yeah, if the fact that look, half an hour doesn't seem like a whole lot, but over the course of a 162 game season, that's a lot of your life you're going to get back if it trims 30 minutes off a game. And maybe I'd be more willing to watch a game if I knew that it was only going to take that much up of my time than 3+ hours.
Real quick, the other rules, the shift restriction, which I like this. 2 infielders must be positioned on either side of second base when the pitch is released. All 4 infielders must have both feet within the infield when pitcher is on the rubber. And shift restrictions increase batting average and decrease strikeouts in the minors while giving players more opportunity to show off their athleticism. They've also added bigger bases. First, second, and third increased from 15 inches a square to 18-inch square. Bigger base is expected to have positive impact on player safety. The distance reduced by 3 inches from home to first and home to third, and reduced by 4.5 from first to second and second to third. And bigger bases reduce injury events near the bases by more than 13% in the minors in 2022. So I find that to be interesting.
Yeah, I think, look, it's America's pastime, and I think you could argue that in the past several years it's kind of moved away from that. I think baseball has lost a lot of eyeballs, and I think it's wise of Major League Baseball to put in rules that could get some of those casuals back, because you're a diehard Braves fan. You're going to watch the games. It doesn't matter if none of these rules changes had been made. You're still watching the games, but not someone like me, because I don't have a rooting interest in baseball. So for me, you've got to do something to bring me back. And if I know that I don't have to spend as much time watching a game, then I think that's one thing that might make me more willing to sit down and watch one.
Coming up next, we'll get back into the Predators and their big 2-1 win over Boston last night. We'll do that coming up here on Stillman & Company. Chase and Adam in for Jared today, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, it's Jared here to tell you about the FanDuel Sportsbook app. That's my official sportsbook app, and the tournament is heating up, and there's no better place to get in on all the action than America's #1 sportsbook and my official sportsbook, that's FanDuel. Because right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just go to FanDuel.com/JGM and sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from the money line to point spreads to which team will be cutting down the nets. Feel very comfortable about UConn. Been talking about UConn for about a week after what they did to Arkansas, and they look like the real deal. So don't miss your shot at a no-sweat bet of up to $1,000. That's FanDuel.com/JGM to sign up today. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $10 deposit required. Refund issue is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days, and restrictions do apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line. It's easy to get to. 1-800-889-9789.
All the big plays.
For the win! Yes! Vanderbilt wins it!
All the big stories.
Quarterback carousel. What the Titans decide to do at the quarterback position.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
10% chance of making the playoffs.
Checkered flag is in the team air. With incredible talent.
Every team in the league.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Cards issued by Celtic Bank, member FDIC. Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 3.5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. RAMP.com/sports.
A good work partner knows what you need before you need it. That's how it feels when you work with Cintas. Your dedicated Cintas service reps get to know your business and have the industry knowledge that can help you prepare for what's ahead. They'll deliver your team's workwear freshly laundered. Make sure your first aid and safety supplies, mats, mops, and towels are stocked when you need them. And your fire extinguishers are inspected and in working order. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Your Game Center update.
The Nashville Predators kept their playoff hopes alive with a big 2-1 win over the Boston Bruins last night. The win combined with the Jets' loss, the Preds are now 3 points behind Winnipeg for the final wildcard spot. Head coach John Hines after the game on keeping Boston's high-powered offense at bay.
You know, we made hard plays in the danger areas of the ice. I thought our puck decisions were strong. We didn't turn pucks over. We try not to give them any easy offense because they're a deadly team. And then I think when we were called upon to defend, we defended the net front very well. I thought we defended the backside of the net very well. We had commitment to shot blocking, and that's what you need. A good team like that's going to come with a hard push, and that's when the details of your game need to be on point. And they were. We got some big saves from our goalie, but I thought defensively we played pretty solid.
Nashville is back in action on Thursday night in Pittsburgh to take on Sidney Crosby and the Penguins. Hear the latest edition of Preds Insiders with Robbie Stanley beginning at 6 o'clock tonight. And coming up at 7, we have some NBA on ESPN radio action as Dallas takes on Philly. I'm Ian Safar for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robbie and Rexrode. Chase and Michelle.
Caroline, Willie, D-Bay.
Stillman Company.
Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
1025 and 106.3.
Crank City score.
On both sides of the one big possession.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman, presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe, Adam Vingan in for Jared today. We are streaming on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. That is all presented by Superbook Sports. And, of course, Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. Predators win 2-1 in Boston last night. And, man, what a night it was. Obviously, not just another game. That was something that a lot of the team and head coach John Hines discussed. They all, both the Bruins and the Predators, had a moment of silence before the game. The Preds had the stickers on the back of their helmet for the Covenant School, which I thought was really cool. I think the Bruins did too. But and I got to give credit to Boston for what they did in honoring the victims and just really helping the Predators, the NHL coming together for that one. But it was more than just a win. They put a city on their back and helped, as sports can do, with a little bit of the healing. It doesn't make it all go away. It doesn't take the pain completely away, obviously. I know that. But for them to play the way they did last night, the young rookies stepping up like they have been and beat the best team in the NHL was pretty stinking cool. And another thing that happened before the game is, Ryan McDonough ended up flying separately with the team or from the team, and because his daughter her school was in lockdown, and so he had to be a dad, and so he flew out later and met a young man named Caleb at the airport that he ended up inviting down to the locker room to do the lineup before the game, which was really cool. Caleb's dad happened to be listening to this morning to Chase and Michelle when we were talking to Luke Evangelista and talking about that. And so Caleb actually called into the show and gave his side of the story, which was really cool.
I was flying from BNA to Boston. There was this lady in the airport, shout out to her, and she told me McDonough was in the airport. I'm like, nuh-uh. And she's like, yeah, he's wearing a scruffy suit. And I'm like, I see McDonough. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is actually happening. So I walk up to him and I say, hey, you're Ryan McDonough, right? He's like, yeah. It's like, hey, I'm Caleb. I'm such a huge fan of yours. Today is actually my birthday. I'm flying up to Boston. And then he's like, oh really? He's like, yeah. I'm like, wow. Just talking to a Preds player and just having a conversation with him. That's probably the best thing to happen. So then when I get to Boston, I get a text from him on Instagram. He says, hey, get to warm-ups as soon as possible. We have a little surprise for you. And I'm like, wow, okay, something's about to go down. And to be fair, I was expecting a stick or a signed jersey from McDonough. But no, then the security guards came and grabbed me and my mom, and then we were escorted down to the locker room, and then it was just unreal.
That was Caleb earlier this morning, which is so cool. So, and this, Adam, that somebody will read the lineup, the starting lineup for the team, and that gets everybody fired up in the energy. The Predators put the video out, and he did a good job. It was awesome, and obviously it brought him some good luck. So maybe they're going to fly him to Pittsburgh now. Who knows?
Yeah, you know what? Listening to him talk about it, as someone, and you would know this as well, as someone whose job it is to talk to these guys, or in my case, whose job it was to talk to these guys, you take it for granted that you talk to Ryan McDonough or Roman Josi or Pekka Rinne or whomever on a regular basis. So when a fan who doesn't have that does not have that luxury, has the opportunity to talk to a player, you could tell in his voice how excited he was and how much it meant to him. So that's really nice to hear. But to the game, like I said at the top of the show, you're a betting man. I'm not. I doubt you would have put money down on the Predators to win in regulation last night. I was expecting a game much like the game against the Rangers a couple of weeks ago at Madison Square Garden. And what's really interesting, actually, now that I think about it, so consider the team that was on the ice last night for the Predators. Down Roman Josi, Ryan Johansson, Philip Forsberg, Matt Duchene, and all of the players they've traded, versus a team on the precipice of history, regular season history, in the Boston Bruins at full strength, and they grinded out a 2-1 win. In February, a much better, more talent. You could argue. Well, I don't think you can argue this. A more talented, more experienced Predators team with all of those guys available played one of the worst games of the season at home against Boston and lost 5-0. And it kind of occurred. That kind of occurred to me just now. That game against Boston at Bridgestone Arena, for me, I went to that game with Jared, and we talked about it, and that felt like the breaking.
Oh boy,
that felt like the breaking point. Like they were embarrassed on their home ice. Bruins fans were all over the place. It was incredibly loud when Boston scored. The Predators were outclassed. That felt like this is it, time to finally, detonate this thing. And it eventually happened. But, when you compare the roster, the caliber of roster that the Predators had that night, even though they got their butts kicked, versus the one they had last night, which really, on paper, had no business being on the same ice surface as the Bruins, and they won. I mean, kudos to them. That's the definition of a gutsy win.
Yeah, there's no question. And I think there's a different energy level with this team right now that hasn't been there for a while. And I don't mean that towards the guys that, they traded away. I mean, Matthias Ekholm was a pillar on this team for a long time, going back to the core group that, he was one guy that had played for Barry Trotz, for Peter Laviolette, now John Hines, and, ends up moving on to Edmonton, and he's been really good since he got traded to Edmonton. Nino Niederreiter was signed this year, but a player that I know when I had my wish list of players to come to Nashville, he was always on it, and so I hated to see him leave, and Mikhail Granlund, but the young guys have stepped up and made this into something, made this really fun to watch. But what you were saying about the young man Caleb talking to players, and there's something different about hockey players that are just from other athletes, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Just I think hockey players are very laid back for the most part. You got some that aren't. You got some that you could put in the diva category. Sure. I mean, that goes with any sport. But I know a lot of the Predators that you and I have dealt with over the years, you mentioned Pecorine, Roman Josi, Philip Forsberg, those guys, they're a pleasure to be around and always have been. And so the fact that a fan got to experience that, I agree with you, is really, really cool, because they don't get to do that as much.
Right. And as I said earlier, still thinking about what happened the other day. Just it's hard to think about. My wife and I have had a hard time processing it as the parents of a 19-month-old. Just the idea that 3 little ones have lost their lives needlessly, and I'm not going to get political here, but it's just it just thinking about it now, it makes me sad. And the Predators have been a linchpin of this community for 25 years, and when tragedy strikes, oftentimes people look to sports teams to kind of help pick the pieces back up. There are countless examples. I mean, what's the most famous example? The New York Yankees after September 11th, right? That's right. The most famous example, and at least the most famous example that I can think of. But yeah, I mean, it was great for the city for them to win. I'm very curious about tomorrow's game, because the Penguins are a really interesting team right now. So the Penguins, I think they've lost 6 of 8, yet they are still 3 points clear of the next closest team in the wild card race. They have the second wild card spot. The Penguins have not missed the playoffs since 2006, which was Sidney Crosby's rookie season. Their playoff streak of, I think, 16 consecutive seasons is not only the longest active in the NHL, it's also the longest active in North American professional sports. And, they're just such an odd team, because, look, when you have Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin and Chris Letang, you're always going to have a chance, but That team is so uninspired. But they were down 3-0 to Detroit last night. They came back to tie the game. They lost 7-4. So they're going to be motivated too. So you're going to have two teams playing for a lot in their respective wild card races tomorrow night. So I am curious to see how both teams respond after the games they played last night.
Yeah, I agree with that because I think it's, like you just said, it's interesting to have two teams in similar positions in different conferences fighting for the same thing. So I think it'll be an interesting matchup. But how will we view this team if they don't make the playoffs and what the future may look like? Adam and I will discuss that coming up next. It's Adam Vingan, Chase McCabe in today for Jared Stillman on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Come on. Join Robbie and Rexrode for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jared Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jared Companies. For more, visit JaredCompaniesInc.com. The choice is yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Ford. Have you ever thought to yourself, buying a car online? That sounds like a nightmare. But fear not, my friends. With Newton FastPass, it's easier than catching a leprechaun. In fact, our system is so user-friendly that even a leprechaun can do it. And let me tell you, those little guys are notoriously bad with technology. Also, with Newton FastPass, you're practically guaranteed to get a great deal. It's like finding a 4-leaf clover in a field of overpriced cars. And who doesn't love a good deal? I mean, I'd be willing to bet that even the most skeptical among us would feel lucky to snag a great deal on a new car. That's not all. When you use Newton FastPass, we'll throw in a free leprechaun to help you navigate the process. And trust me, these little guys know their way around a car deal. Just be sure to keep an eye on them because they can be a little mischievous. So what are you waiting for? Visit NewtonFord.com and join the ranks of lucky car buyers. You might even feel like you're living in your own personal pot of gold. And remember, with Newton FastPass, you're always in luck.
20 years ago, when Genesis Diamonds came to Nashville, this was one of the most expensive cities in America for diamond jewelry. Our radical approach and no middleman pricing changed that forever. And now we're doing it again, this time with lab-grown diamonds. We were shocked to find out what the other mall stores and the other big radio advertisers were charging. They sell their platinum 4-carat VS2 lab-grown earrings for $15,720. We sell them for $6,900. Their 3.08 carat lab-grown round diamond with G-color VS2 clarity is $10,045. We sell it for $5,900. Looks like they might be going back to the old ways. If they're charging this much on lab-grown diamonds, kind of makes you wonder what else they're selling at the same outrageous markup. Nashville, we are not going backwards. At Genesis Diamonds, our non-commissioned trusted advisors are here to give you all the information with details you can trust and prices you can count on. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Willie Donick here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. The official 2022 stats are in, and the Pella brand is rated #1 by Nashville homeowners for windows and doors. One reason, Nashville homeowners selected Pella Windows #1 for the highest quality craftsmanship. Another key stat, Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville is also rated #1 for the brand that stands behind their product. If you need new doors or windows, the choice is clear. Choose the experts at Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Go to PellaofNashville.com.
Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey Nashville, it's Chef Phillip at Bar Lines at the Omni Hotel. Come try our new Nashville hot fish and chips. Beer battered black cod served over crispy fries or tots with Omni's own Nashville hot season blend. Served with chipotle slaw and malt vinegar tartar sauce.
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Want to weigh in on the conversation?
It's a brain booster.
Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You guys are obviously on the outside looking into the playoff picture. A win like this, can it mean a lot down the road?
I think so, especially with a young team. You know, there might not, or I should say, there's a lot of belief in this room, and you know, just beating that first place team just gives you that much more belief. And no, we all stepped up. a lot of young guys. We had a lot of energy, and this is the game that builds character for a lot of players and really shows that we can play in this league, and that's something that I'm really thankful for and really proud that we could get this win.
Cody Glass last night after the 2-1 win, Predators against the Boston Bruins. Chase McCabe, Adam Vingan in today for Jared Stillman. Ian's far along as well. We'll have Caroline versus Joe coming up at 5 o'clock. So looking forward to that. Adam will be in the questions chair, and I'll just be along for the ride. Can't wait for that. Coming up in just a little bit, but discussing the Predators and what the future looks like for this team. And feel free to weigh in on this. 615-737-1025. We got into this earlier, and Adam kind of put out there, and I can't say that I disagree with him, that when you look at how they have played since the trade deadline, they're 3 points out of a playoff spot right now, that John Hines has certainly made a case to continue to be the head coach of the Predators. I was never one of those that was like, oh, you got to fire him right now. I think like anything that, if they had continued down the current path that they were on, there was going to need to be evaluation. This was before, David Poile announced his retirement, but they have shown that they're willing to go into transition mode, take a few steps back in order to take more steps forward and be a cup contender once again. But I like what they've gotten out of these players. I like the job that John has done with those players, and the organization, to me, never really made it sound like that he was coaching for his job. The only thing was Barry Trotz said, I need to get to know John. I don't know John. And that's how I can do my evaluation is by, getting to know him over the course of the next few months while they finish the season. So, for Barry Trotz, he's getting evaluation of these young players and the veterans that are on the roster, and he's also being able to evaluate the head coach and the coaching staff. But what would, say they missed the playoffs, which is still likely. I mean, I think we all hope that they can still fight and scratch and claw and get in there, but they got a lot of key players that are injured. They're playing with a lot of young players, and the schedule's not getting any easier with 9 games left. Last night was huge that they could get the 2 points out of that game, but you got to win Thursday too. Really,
and Winnipeg lost.
And Winnipeg lost, so that certainly helps. But how do we view the direction and what's going to happen with this team, Adam, if they don't make the playoffs?
Honestly, I think by the moves that they made at the deadline and essentially admitting that they're not going to be competitive this season, even if they do make the playoffs, at this point that they'd probably draw. They would draw the winner of the Pacific Division, most likely. So that could be Vegas, that could be LA, that could be Edmonton, all of which are leaps and bounds better than the Predators. I don't expect that to be a series if the Predators were able to squeak in. But the fact that they made those moves and sold at the deadline, I think it changed the expectations. So I think Predators fans have sort of, like you said, I think Predators fans would are hoping that this team can make a Cinderella type run to the postseason. But if they don't, the Predators have sort of prepared their fans for that after what they did a month ago. So if anything, if they fight to the bitter end and they are eliminated from playoff contention, let's just say with 2 games left, to me, actually, I feel a lot better about things than I did a month and a half ago.
Sure.
So
how could you not?
So if they miss honestly, I think missing the playoffs, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I think the fact that this team has remained competitive, and as Ian alluded to, part of it is because the Jets and the Flames can't get out of their own way. If those teams were playing even a little bit better, this would not be a race. But the Predators have done a good enough job of staying in the race. As I said, they are 7-5-2 since the trade deadline, which is about what I would expect. If they miss the playoffs, but they're in it till the end after everything they've been through from a roster standpoint over the past month and a half, I think you got to give them. I mean, I know that to parrot our dear friend Jared, you don't want to almost win, you want to win.
Yeah.
But in this case, I think it's okay if they almost win. Just this time, this once, I think it's okay if they almost.
Well, because I look at it as it's just icing on the cake because they're not going to be bad enough to be in the lottery to be in contention for Connor Bedard. So you can just take that out. This is a deep draft. From everything that I read, that there's a lot of talent in this draft that's going to be held at Bridgestone Arena this year, just like 2003 was. We saw the talent that came out of that draft. So, no matter where they're picking, I think they still could probably get pretty good prospects. So I look at it as, and I think these guys in the room are just kind of like the old line from Major League. They just kind of have that bleep it mentality. Let's win the whole bleeping thing, and that's where they're at. So I think having that kind of reckless abandon is good, especially for a young group that some of these guys on this team are trying to make the roster. And I think it's easy to go through and look and like, okay, well, you hope Forsberg gets healthy. He's going to be a part of things. Yossi the same way. Fabro gets another year to prove it. Which he needs to do, and I think he recognizes that. And then there's a handful of guys that have kind of been perennial fringe guys that, they might be filling spots right now, but you still got young guys in the pipeline that you're hoping come and take those spots as they continue to get ready. So I think they find themselves in a pretty good position. Bob in Antioch wants to weigh in on the decor. Bob, welcome in.
Good afternoon, guys. How do you feel about the way Tyson Berry has come in and played? And the other two questions, how do you feel about the defense corps moving forward? And would you guys make many changes, if any, to the defense corps?
All right, Bob, thanks for the call. I will answer the Tyson Berry one. I love Tyson Berry. I think that's been a very nice addition to this team. I think the fact that you added another offensive-type defenseman, and no, he's not the same level as Yossi, but – a second power play quarterback, I think is a good thing. And so I've been pleased with him. I like him.
Yeah, he has 6 points in 6 games since Yossi went down, 2 goals, 4 assists. And Barry has been in the league for a while. He is not known as a defensive specialist. When he came here, I was wondering about how much of a drop-off he was going to experience in production because he was quarterbacking the top power play in the league in Edmonton, which, by the way, could be the greatest, like literally, statistically, the greatest power play in the history of the NHL from a statistical standpoint in terms of just the end of season. Yesterday I checked, I think they were 31.9% on the power play before the game yesterday, and that was tied for the highest mark in a season since the NHL started tracking power play percentage in like the late 1970s. So they are literally the greatest power play that's ever lived. And I thought that with Barry coming here, that that would be a drop off. But I've actually been impressed by his all around game. I mean, I looked at it. I think in the 6 games that Yossi's been out there, 1 for 15 or 1 for 16 on the power play. So it's not. So they've been winning in spite of that. But yeah, I think Barry has proven himself, a solid, middle pair defenseman when everybody is healthy, and I think he's got another year left on his contract. And if things don't go well next year, he's the type of player that could get you something as a rental. So yeah, I mean, he's not Matthias Ekholm, but he's a different player than Matthias Ekholm. But I think he's played his role well, and I've actually been pleasantly surprised by how he's done.
And I think they needed a defenseman on the second power play unit.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, Yossi obviously is the linchpin on the first one, but they didn't really have a defenseman for the second power play unit.
Yeah.
Like a steady one that you could put out there and be reliable. So I think it's good that Barry, in general, has been, you can pencil him in as the power play defenseman on the second unit. I think that's great. But to your other question, Bob, the bottom of the defense right now, in my opinion, struggling.
Not very good. Now,
Foot, Lozon, you got to upgrade. You got to upgrade.
Now, I'm curious. They did announce just a few minutes ago that the Predators have signed Jake Livingstone to a 1-year entry-level contract. That is for the rest of this year. He's a 23-year-old defenseman that capped off a 3-year career at Minnesota State University. He was the all-CCHA first team and claiming the conference's Defenseman of the Year award for the second straight season. So they have signed him to an entry-level contract. And announced that today. So maybe that's somebody that, as a young kid can jump in and and see what you got in him. But that contract for the rest of this year, so undrafted. So that's kind of an interesting move that David Poile announced earlier today. We'll take your calls, 615-737-1025 on the Predators. How do you feel about John Hines and the job he's done through this stretch? We'll do that coming up next here on Stillman and Company. Chase McCabe, Adam Vingan in for Jared Stillman today, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
When you want all the...
Going in and the score. Blast the score. He risks one, they score.
And don't forget the...
Oh, what a stop. Sliding across to make the save. Backhander, nice stop.
When all you want is... Smashville. We have you covered. Hear every Predators game right here. We are your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We buy any car. We buy any car. We buy any car. Any.
Trading in or selling your car, truck, or SUV? WeBuyAnyCar.com takes the hassle out of selling in 3 easy steps. 1. Get a free online valuation. 2. Drive to your local car buying center. And 3. Walk out with a check in about an hour. So don't wait. Get your free online valuation now at WeBuyAnyCar.com.
Find out how much your car's worth at We Buy Any Car.
Hey Nashville, TJ Anderson here. With real estate listings, you have to read between the lines. Like waterfront property, more like a mosquito farm. Pride of ownership, they're really proud of the DIY job they did. Seller says sell. Really? I thought they just put it on the market for fun. My team at TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty is ready to help both home buyers and sellers decode the market. Oh, and if it says don't let this one pass you by, it's probably on wheels. Google TJ Anderson Homes, read our reviews, and see why we are referred for a reason. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, 615-432-2919.
Hey, it's Jared. Are you looking to move? If so, do yourself a favor and reach out to my friends at TriStar Moving. You can be assured your move will be stress-free because they've got new utility vans to help with pack jobs to separate your high-value or fragile items from the bulk of your furniture, and their movers are carefully picked and highly trained. No one in the game is doing this. TriStar Moving is raising the standard in the moving industry. When you're ready to move, give them a call. TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, or online at nationalmoving.org/radio, and tell them Jared Stillman referred you for 10% off. That's TriStar Moving.
This week's Nashville's best deal is the all-new Hot Works Goodlettsville off Long Hollow Pike. Right now, join for just $39 in time for their grand opening April 1st. That's $60 off at thegamenashville.com/deals. Hot Works offers 24/7 infrared fitness in 15 and 30-minute virtually led sauna sessions. Get more workout in less time at Hot Works. And right now, save $60 on enrollment at thegamenashville.com/deals.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robbie and Rexrode, 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle, 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace, 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company, 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Hey Nashville, this is Mookie Betts. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
talk a lot about the hunger and the drive of these younger players especially, but how big is it for their confidence to come in and beat a first-place team like this?
Well, it's big. I think they've been, as we said to them, there's been a lot of change on the team since the trade deadline, and there was a group of players, that are either no longer with the organization or are injured that put the team in a position that was close to the playoffs around that time. And then it was up to this group to be able to carry that on and forge forward to give ourselves an opportunity to get in the playoffs. And I think these guys have had some big wins. We've had some tough losses, but I think the resiliency, the hunger, I think the confidence that they have in themselves to play together as a group gives us a chance to win every night.
John Hines last night after the 2-1 win by his team. Back here, Stillman and Company, Chase McCabe, Adam Vingan here with you. 615-737-1025. Taking your calls and texts on the Predators and John Hines specifically, if you want to weigh in on that, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Before we get to the phones, there is a texter that I want to read. Kyle says, since Adam is in studio today, I just want to know if Cal Foot's analytics are as bad as his on-ice product looks. He's been awful since coming to us.
Yes.
He takes so many penalties.
Is that it? Yes.
That was great. I gave Adam the heads up. I said, hey, somebody wants to know about Cal Foot. And he goes, okay, I'll look it up.
Yes.
Yeah. Care to expand?
It's like what, like there. Look, the beauty of analytics.
That was a Peter Laviolette type answer, by the way.
I did spend enough of time around the guy. The analytics are interesting just because it's used as you want to see if the eye test matches the numbers, and there are cases where sometimes a player is he's playing better than it looks, and vice versa. Cal Foot is an example of a player who looks bad and his analytics aren't great either. So like what you're seeing is what you're getting. Like to me, he's he fits that stay-at-home role. You would hope that the Predators' track record of developing defensemen could help him. He was a first-round pick, and obviously his father had a long NHL career. But I have not liked what I've seen. It's been ugly out there.
Yeah, I agree, and I will admit I liked that they got him. Not because of who his dad is, but I thought that there was, some upside to him as a prospect, but so far it just hasn't panned out that way, which is really disappointing. And, I do believe that bottom pair, that is where Barry Trotz is going to have to work, whether it's through the draft or free agency or a combination of the two, is improving the depth at defense, which is ironic to say because this organization has historically been so good at being so strong at defense. And that's obviously, something Barry Trotz was a part of. So I have a feeling that they will figure that out, but they definitely need some help there.
Yeah, and the continued absence of Mark Borowiecki, that's having him basically miss the entire season hasn't helped in that regard, but you go into next season with presumably Roman Josi, Ryan McDonough, force of habit there. Roman Josi, Ryan McDonough, Tyson Barrie, Dante Fabro, Alex Carrier, and I guess, that's another thing. It's like they haven't had Carrier for a long time. I think Cal Foot is like at best a seventh defenseman. Like if Cal Foot is the equivalent of, to go back a couple of years, like your Matt Irwin or Yannick Weber, like a guy who gets in on occasion but doesn't play regularly, I don't think that's a bad role for him. I would not want him to be an everyday defenseman for this team.
Lozon is under contract for a couple more seasons too, and that's a little bit concerning because it's like
don't remind me
because it's $2 million per year, so it's not like you're paying pennies here or chump change and. For someone to snag $2 million a year for what Lozon brings you, I'm a little skeptical.
Yeah, no, I think that's certainly a valid concern to have. 615-737-1025. Rob wants to weigh in on John Hines. Rob, welcome in.
Hey, thanks for having me. I was going to weigh in on John Hines, but now that you guys are bad-mouthing Lozon, I have to weigh in on that. And I'm kind of on Hal Gill's side of the fence that when you look at a person that exposes his body on almost every shift, will make the hit, will drop his gloves, and is absolutely coachable. I think that you guys have it wrong. You've been listening to Jared too much on Lozon. So I totally disagree on Lozon. I think he's going to turn out. And on Cal Foot, I honestly believe that given the kid's pedigree and the size of his old man, he's going to be fine. You can't step into the NHL and expect somebody to play defense, even if it's 4 years in. It takes time. It takes a lot of time. And on the Hines front, just to take a bit of a step back, I was, Poyle, when he retired, I was like, that's 2 years too late. Thank you very much. Great service, but it was 2 years too late. And now the lineup that we're looking at right now is awesome. And having watched multiple different practices from Hines, he runs a very developmental, fast-paced, interesting practice. And the fact that he's taken some on the chin when they lost 7-1 or 7-0 to the Rangers, his reaction after it was almost like you had a developmental team and you didn't want to hit him overhead with a stick because there's a lot more to come. And it'd be interesting to see what they do. My guess, though, is if Lane Lambert comes available, that's who they'll snag. Thoughts?
Okay, interesting take, Rob. Thank you for the call.
Okay, first of all, I just want to say, Rob, you are taking the opinion of Hal Gill, a Stanley Cup winning defenseman with 1,200 games of experience, over me, in my opinion. How dare you? Exactly. No. Look,
for shame.
Yes. No. Hal obviously knows what he's talking about, but but that sort of goes back to, the topic about analytics. Like, I did not play hockey like Hal, obviously. So Hal sees the game in a much different way than I do. I process the game a lot differently. I rely more on analytics to tell me what I'm seeing, just because I don't have the background of the playing experience of someone like Hal Gill that I can just pick it out by watching it. And people can argue that analytics have played a negative effect in sports, but based on what I am good at, and that is processing those, neither Jeremy Lauzon or Cal Foot to me are everyday NHL defensemen. They're not.
I mean, they have good size and they're physical, but they have zero puck control skills. They cannot pass. They fan on shots constantly. They're out of position. They take bad penalties. So there are some good qualities to what Hal likes to, bring to the team and to the table, but there is definitely room for improvement.
Okay, there you go. And I think it's good to have point counterpoint on this. And I didn't mind the low, when they kept Lauzon, but I just think in general, the defense core, they need more depth. They simply need that. And again, that's one of those things that's crazy to say. But once Carrier's healthy, maybe that helps with that. What's kind of your thought on Carrier?
How do I think of him as a defenseman?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that he has surpassed Dante Fabro on the depth chart.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I think, the injury to Carrier gave Dante Fabro more playing time. Look, the decision to re-sign Fabro, there were a lot of rumors that Fabro was going to be traded by the deadline, and they signed him instead. I think he got a slight pay cut, maybe like $100,000 or something like that. I have been impressed by the strides that Carrier has made. Carrier, when he had been in the system for so long and hadn't gotten a shot, and I was like, is this guy just going to be like the AHL veteran type who plays 75 games a year? And look, you can have a satisfying career as a professional hockey player playing in the AHL. And I wasn't sure if he was ever going to be a regular defenseman, but I thought he equated himself well playing with Matthias Ekholm. And, I am higher on Carrier than I am on Fabro.
Okay. I think that's a fair assessment, and I like it. So
yes.
Coming up next, and you need another Simpsons reference. You've been, they've been coming out lately. We need another one. But coming up next, there's some NFL rule changes that have come out from the owners' meetings. We will discuss that, and also Thursday Night Football, Caroline versus Joe, coming up at 5 here on Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The crowd is standing on its feet. It's in the hole! It's in the hole!
Join 102.5 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament, benefiting Souls for Souls, June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs. Be the ball. Support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at theGameNashville.com/golf.
Do you have a VA loan? In this housing market, homeowners with VA loans have access to a ton of instant cash. Hey, Willie Donick here. Do you need cash to pay off credit cards and other high-interest loans? How does a check for 80 or 90 grand sound right now? Loan Pronto is helping veterans every day get the money they need with a quick and easy zero-cost cash-out refi with zero closing costs. With a VA loan, it's really cool because you can access up to 100% of your home's value. That's 100%. Use that money to pay off credit cards, home equity lines, car loan. Consolidate all your payments into one check per month and close in 2 weeks. Most homeowners who do this end up cutting their overall monthly payments by $800. And Loan Pronto's all-digital process makes it fast and easy. They're doing loans with super low APRs, and they love working with veterans. Call now. See what your options are. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
The choice is yours, Wednesdays at 8:45. Brought to you by Jarrett Companies. Now hiring experienced sprinkler experts. Go to jarrettfire.com. JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, a company above and beyond industry standards.
Men, this is Evan Bass with the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and I've been helping men with sexual health issues for many years. I've seen the pain and anxiety that men walk into the clinic with when erectile dysfunction is affecting them. And I also know the heartache and difficulty it can bring to their partner. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've been successfully treating men for ED for many years now. We've seen the amazing impacts that those treatments have on a man's confidence and positivity. And we've seen the wonderful things those treatments also do for a man's relationship. That's why I'm pleased to announce that we are now offering the same great services we offer at our Nashville clinic at our new location in Franklin, which will make it much more convenient for those men living south of Nashville to get treated. So call us today and book your appointment at our Midtown location or at our new clinic in Cool Springs. Your first visit is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra results vary.
One is smart.
This has just been a constant trend for this team.
One is funny. That's right. Funny looking, maybe. Chase and Michelle with Chase McCabe and Michelle Knezovic.
Are you listening?
I'm listening.
Everybody's listening.
Weekdays from 9 to 11. Presented by Hair Club. Hair Club. Love your hair. Live your life. On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's your last chance to sign up and play the official 4-team game bracket challenge, brought to you by Twin Peaks, home of the 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports, and the Bluffs at Rocky Ridge. Enjoy the biggest and best views in the Nashville area from your dream acreage home site. Call now at 866-GET-LAND. Go to theGameNashville.com/bracket challenge or the Game Nashville app now and pick your teams for a chance to win tickets to see Luke Combs at Nissan Stadium on Saturday, April 15th. Chase McCabe, Adam Vingan in today for Jared Stillman. We'll have Caroline versus Joe coming up at 5 o'clock. Looking forward to that. But discussing the NFL owners' meetings and some of the rules that came out from that, and even some stuff with Thursday Night Football that we will get into. But one of the biggest things that I think people are talking about, which cracks me up, Adam, is the a few years ago they made the change where receivers and tight ends, corners, they could wear single-digit numbers, and now they have added 0 to the numbers that players can wear. So you will see the number 0 on the field in an NFL game starting this season. Looking forward to that.
That's cool, I guess.
I don't care about that one. But so some other things The replay official can now automatically review a close play on a failed fourth down attempt, which is considered a change of possession. They review turnovers, so now they can do that. This will save a team's challenge if it's a close call on fourth down. The rule may speed up the game since the replay official can review the play immediately. I like that rule. I think that's an interesting one. That was something that I think they kind of needed to look at for a while, and now they will do that.
Yeah, these rule changes are will be a little less, the overall effect on the game will be a little less noticeable than the ones in baseball, just because it might not cut down the amount of time in the game. But I don't have them in front of me, but my favorite thing is to look at the proposed rules that don't get
too.
That don't get approved.
Well, the one that I really so the XFL has done this, that instead of an onside kick, they can make it basically like a 4th and 20 play, essentially, or I don't know exactly what the rule is, but
I think that was about right.
Yeah. And that's something that the competition committee was looking at. They tabled it for this year, but I love that. Like, I would much rather do that than the onside kick, because they've basically made it where, and I know onside kicks still work sometimes, but now that the players have to be on the line and they can't rush up, I don't think it works.
I do have the story here from NBC Sports of the rules that were not approved. So after a 2022 season filled with controversial roughing the passer calls, the Rams proposed that the penalty be subject to replay assist and or reviewable by a coach's challenge, but it was rejected. So that was one. Another notable rejected rule change was the competition committee's proposal to move touchbacks on punts from the 20 to the 25-yard line.
I don't really know why they rejected that one.
There are also,
I think kickoffs are 25.
There are also a few potential changes that were tabled until the next owners' meeting in May. The Eagles' proposal for a team to be able to maintain possession of the ball after scoring by converting a 4th and 20.
Yes.
The competition committee's proposal to make fair catches on kickoffs inside the 25-yard line result in a touchback.
Ooh.
Which I think might be the college rule.
And the Detroit Lions Lions proposal to allow an emergency third quarterback to be active.
Okay.
I think they're going to go. I think that one is going to get approved from what I have read. They just need to tweak some of the wording.
Okay, and they should, because I think it should be allowed, and I'm curious to see what that does, and maybe that's why the Titans are waiting on bringing in another quarterback. But I agree. I think every team should have that emergency third quarterback dressed and ready to go, and it shouldn't count against a roster spot if they do that. Because I think last year this whole thing could have been different for the Titans with Malik Willis. Now, they would have gone with Logan Woodside as the backup, but I think the only reason Malik Willis was the backup for this team is because they didn't want to carry 3 quarterbacks. And they knew they didn't want to risk putting a third-round pick on the practice squad or trying to sneak him through to the practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, that's what they did with Logan Woodside, and then eventually he got poached. So I think that's a good rule. I also like the alternative onside kick rule. I think that would be a good one. 4th and 20.
I haven't actually watched any of the new XFL.
It's okay.
You're enjoying it?
It's a lot of people's elbows and rock bottoms, and no.
I remember watching the first XFL game. Like the first XFL game.
Yeah.
And
what was the first thing you saw and the first 2 voices you heard?
Was it Vince McMahon and Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler, or Vince McMahon and The Rock?
Yeah, The Rock. I mean, they were all there. It was Vince, it was The Rock, it was Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler calling the game.
But that was when they did they had the ball at midfield and they sprinted for it to gain possession.
Yep.
But obviously that would lead to a lot of head
Matt
injury.
Vasgersian was also.
That's a great ESPN films about the XFL.
Oh, it's
the whole
awesome.
thing about them bleeding into Saturday Night Live, I think, with Jennifer Lopez. Yeah, it's worth a watch. But yeah, I like that the XFL is sort of like we were talking about with minor league baseball testing out rule changes. That's what the XFL kind of is, the testing ground for potential NFL rule changes.
Which I don't think is a bad thing.
No, I don't either. I like the idea of having a third quarterback. You don't want to be at risk of having to play a player out of position in a major game. So I think, as Ian said, that they'll probably be approved. I think that would be good for the sport if they allowed that.
How do you feel about Thursday night football?
Usually I'm not watching it unless either, I'm a Saints fan, so if the Saints are on Thursday night, I'll watch it, or if the Titans obviously are on Thursday night, I'll watch it. But like if it's like Thursday night football, Jaguars, Falcons, like no thank you. Like I'm just
in that voice.
Yeah, no offense to Jaguars and Falcons fans out there, but so they're now going to be able. Teams are going to be able to play 2. Is that the rule?
So that is the big change, is that the owners voted to approve a change that will allow teams to play 2 TNF games on a short rest in one season. Tom Pelissero putting that out. By the way, NFL Network making a lot of cuts. Jim Trotter part of it. Making some budget cuts. So I hate seeing that.
Rachel Bonnetta as well.
Yeah. But teams previously only had to play 1 per season. Now, one thing that the
But
owners,
teams have played more than 1 in a season, right?
Yeah.
But they were only required to play 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other thing is they tabled a proposal that would have introduced flex scheduling for the time slot. Previous reports indicated that such a system would allow Sunday afternoon games in week 14 to 17 to shift to Thursdays with 15 days notice. I don't think they should flex Thursday games. That's just asking too much of the players.
Yeah.
Coaches would have a fit.
I mean,
players,
they would just be like, you're ruining our time.
What did you think of the Thursday night broadcast this year on Amazon?
I was okay with it, and I talked about this a little bit earlier.
Al Michaels clearly did not want to be there.
No, Al was pissy.
It lacked chemistry at times.
Yes, Al was clearly going through how can I make it clear that I don't want to be here without explicitly saying that I don't want to be here?
Supposedly, McAfee's about to sign with Amazon, and so
God,
maybe
that guy. How many jobs does this guy need?
I don't know. I mean, I'd love for him to be a part of it.
All I'm saying is that with the amount of money that Pat McAfee has made, buy a shirt with sleeves. That's all I'm asking. The guy just wears tank tops all the time.
I like his look.
I'm just saying. He's. No. I don't need the. I'm just saying, I don't think I've ever seen him wear a shirt with sleeves. So maybe if he's on Thursday Night Football, he'll have to wear a shirt with sleeves.
I'm guessing that we will see Pat McAfee this weekend at WrestleMania.
Presumably.
I'm hoping.
Presumably.
I think he does a tremendous job at WWE.
No, I think he does a good job too. It's just the guy has. Does the guy ever have time for himself?
I don't know. He's tweeting, hanging out at the house a lot. So, I guess. But with the Thursday night rule and teams playing 2 games, Patrick Mahomes quote tweeted somebody tweeting about this, and it was just the hand to face emoji. And so obviously the MVP not happy about that.
No.
Well, and I get that.
Players clearly don't like playing on Thursday.
No, it's asking a lot. Derek's talked about it. Your body is just not one, you're never 100%, but 2, your body's just not even close to ready by Thursday. And I think that's why the product hasn't been very good. But the NFL gets a check and they like it, and the teams make money. So I guess that's what they're going to do with it. But it is time. Do you have the questions ready?
Yes.
It is time for Caroline versus Joe. That is all coming up next here on Stillman and Company. Chase and Adam in for Jared today, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
Are you going to pay $20.2 million for someone who's struggling this much to stay healthy?
And your source for Nashville sports.
The players got to play better, and they're the ones actually out on the court, and they got to execute.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Time for the Press Report.
Presented by Newton Nissan.
The Nashville Predators went into Boston, the team that is going to set a record, I believe, for wins this year and points, and they knocked them off 2-1 last night at TD Garden. Predators got on the board after a long struggle. They got the first goal of the game late in the second period. To the left, and a shot at the score! Cody Glass! The Predators take a 1-0 lead. Then Nashville would go on and get an empty netter from Jeremy Lauzon, an ex-Boston Bruin, before Pasternak scored for the Bruins with 1.1 second remaining on the scoreboard clock. Predators win it 2-1, and they go on to Pittsburgh to take on the Penguins tomorrow night. Pre-game at 5, the game at 6.
All the best car deals in Smashville start at Newton Nissan. Visit them at Newton Nissan of Gallatin or Newton Nissan South in Shelbyville.
This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
When Smashville wants to rock.
I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. Looking to the sky to save me, looking for a sign of life, 'cause it's too cold for you here.
We are Nashville's rock station. 102.9 The Buzz.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Teron Davenport here for Superbook Sports. Make 2023 the year you beat Vegas. Superbook Sports gives you the chance every week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. No fancy computer algorithms, no guys across the pond setting lines for American sports. Just the best team of odds makers in the business behind the counter at the Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, Superbook features some of the best odds boosts and promo bets anywhere. So download the Superbook Sports app or visit superbook.com and start your battle against Vegas right now. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Now, your game center update.
The Nashville Predators kept their playoff hopes alive with a big 2-1 win over the Boston Bruins last night. The win combined with the Jets' loss, the Preds are now 3 points behind Winnipeg for the final wildcard spot. Head coach John Hines after the game on keeping Boston's high-powered offense at bay.
You know, we made hard plays in the danger areas of the ice. I thought our puck decisions were strong. You know, we didn't turn pucks over, try not to give them any easy offense because they're a deadly team. And then I think when we were called upon to defend, you know, we defended the net front very well. I thought we defended the backside of the net very well. We had commitment to shot blocking, and, you know, that's what you need. You know, a good team like that's going to come with a hard push, and that's when the details of your game need to be on point. And they were. We got some big saves from our goalie, but I thought defensively we played pretty solid.
Nashville is back in action on Thursday night in Pittsburgh to take on Sidney Crosby and the Penguins. Hear the latest edition of Preds Insiders with Robbie Stanley beginning at 6 o'clock tonight. And coming up at 7, we have some NBA on ESPN radio action as Dallas takes on Philly. I'm Ian Safar for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 1025 and 1063.
1, 2, 3. I think it was a good game. Had a couple of big plays.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. Chase McCabe, Adam Vingan in today for Jared Stillman. We're broadcasting live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. And yes, I'm very excited about what is going to take place momentarily because no Jared today, but we still have to have arguments. And so we've brought in Caroline Fenton, as she's usually a part of Jared versus Joe Rexrode, and we're going to do Caroline versus Joe. But let's first make it official, Ian.
Jared Stillman versus Joe Rexrode. Now on Stillman and Company.
On ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Jared, or today, Caroline versus Joe, is brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Caroline, how are you?
Hello, doing great. Beautiful day outside.
It
Just
is.
another great day living the dream.
Absolutely. It is gorgeous. And let's say hello to Joe Rexrode, one half of Robbie and Rexrode Morning 6 to 10 here on 102.5, 6 to 9 on 102.5 The Game. Caroline, of course, Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace, 11 to 2 just before this show. As I get all my times mixed up. Joe, how are you?
I'm okay, but I'm not really excited. I mean, I'm used to arguing with Jared, which is like finger painting. I don't like having a worthy adversary. That's a lot more difficult.
Yeah, well, it'll be fun. Adam's
Adult debates, if you will.
yes, and there's no throwing of bottles like might happen with Jared. So
don't hate on finger painting, Joe.
Yeah, finger painting's fun.
I love it. I'm good at it. I can handle that. No, I'm a fan.
So without further ado, Adam Vengen, I turn things over to you. You are in the question chair today, and we'll decide the results.
Okay, so we started the show talking about the Predators' 2-1 win at the Boston Bruins last night, and we talked about what this run could mean for the future of John Hines, how this team has been playing, considering how undermanned it has been after trades and injuries. I'll start with my dear friend Joe Rexrode. Joe, even if the Predators miss the playoffs, has John Hines earned the opportunity to start next season as Predators coach?
I wouldn't go that far. To me, this really comes down to Barry Trotz and how he views John Hines, and also whether he has someone strongly in mind as a choice to be the coach here. So I don't think John Hines has coached his way out of the job like he has to be fired or something. But I don't think that I would not look at this like what he's done. Oh, that absolutely earns him next year. It's Trotz. It's what Trotz thinks. It's if Trotz has someone. It's what Trotz believes about Hines as a coach. I would suspect that I have a little bit brighter view just based on previous conversations of Hines as a coach than Caroline does. But I wouldn't even go so far as to say you have to, he has to be the coach next year. I don't think that's true.
Caroline?
I mean, the way that I viewed it, let's go back, even like a month and a half ago, I was ready for John Hines to go because I thought, you're not winning games. This team hasn't gotten better since you've gotten here. It's been kind of the status quo. Yeah, you're making the playoffs, but you're barely skating in, no pun intended. And then you get bounced in the first round by a team that's just better than you. And then everybody told me that John Hines was a great developmental coach, that he was really able to coach up the young guys. But prior to now, we haven't really seen that. Ellie Tolvanen, a former first-round pick, was performing so poorly that they just, sent him out on waivers. So I thought, okay, what you brought him in to do, what you told me he was good at, it's not looking like he has a very good track record in Nashville. So I thought, I'm out on John Hines. It's not all his fault. I would say the players are culpable. David Poile was culpable. But ultimately, it does fall on the coach. In some form or fashion, it falls on the coach. And then when David Poile decided to step back and Barry Trotz got the job, I thought, okay, John Hines is for sure gone because Barry Trotz is going to want to bring his guy in. No one's more plugged in on the NHL coaches or even at the lower level, at the AHL level. No one's more plugged in than Barry Trotz is. But what I've seen over the last month or so would tell me that John Hines has done everything he could do to save his job. Like Joe said, it's up to Barry Trotz. I mean, John Hines could coach this team into, a undefeated rest of the season and be a outstanding coach. And then Barry Trotz still wants to go in a different direction because it's his team now. But if Barry Trotz was on the fence and he was approaching it like, show me what you can do, I think that John Hines has done a really good job coaching this team over the last month or so since the trade deadline. So like Joe's point, that's not a fun answer. It's ultimately up to Barry Trotz, but I would feel a whole heck of a lot better about John Hines' job security now than I did about a month ago.
Can I add a sidebar to this? Or go ahead, Joe. And
Joe, then Chase.
I just can't believe that Caroline has become a Hines homer, a Hinesmer, if you will.
Oh, please.
So
I'm going to get an I Heart John Hines t-shirt and wear it on air tomorrow because I love him so much.
So here's my I guess, a side on this. Do either of you believe that the organization, i.e. Barry Trotz's view of Carl Taylor, the head coach of the Milwaukee Admirals, will have anything to do with this decision? Basically meaning if they feel like they're going to lose Carl Taylor to another team as an NHL head coach, could that maybe weigh in on this decision?
Sure. Yeah, I can see that. I think Carl Taylor has sort of been angling to get into to jump from the American to the National here for a few years. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a factor. And again, there could be a number of different names in mind for Trotz.
It could. Go into it thinking, well, we'll promote Carl Taylor just because we don't want him to go anywhere else. If you see a place for him, if you see a future with Carl Taylor, then absolutely. Then you bring him on board, whether that's an assistant coach position, whether that's taking John Hines' job ultimately. But I don't think that you can make a move with Carl Taylor just so you don't lose him.
Well, we have made it more than 3 hours into this program without once mentioning Lamar Jackson. So now it's time to mention Lamar Jackson, who has continued to clap back on Twitter about questions regarding his durability, even though that this is not what this question is about. So I was reading Bill Barnwell over at ESPN.com, and he was listing his top landing spots for Lamar Jackson if he gets his wish and gets traded from the Baltimore Ravens. Number 3 on that list, the Indianapolis Colts. So I'll start with Caroline on this question. If that were to happen, if Lamar Jackson were to be traded to the Indianapolis Colts, and look, anything is possible when you're dealing with Jim Irsay, do the Colts become instantly the heavy favorite to win the AFC South?
That's a really interesting and really good question.
Thank you.
Of course, yes. I'm into question share. It's hard to do sometimes. I'll say this.
Buttering up the judges.
Style points
I can
count.
be bought. I can be bought.
Style points count. All right, Joe? Easy over there. I know you come at me guns blazing normally at 5 o'clock, but easy. I'll start this with, I don't think Lamar Jackson will be in Indianapolis. I don't see Lamar Jackson going anywhere other than Baltimore next season. That's just my opinion. But I will entertain it for the sake of the debate. I don't think they would be the heavy favorite. I don't. I think that Indianapolis team has too many holes to fill and has too many needs. I also don't know what Shane Steichen is going to be like as a head coach. You know, he was great as the offensive coordinator in Philadelphia. Everyone tells me he is like a quarterback guru, and I don't know him at all. I can't say that he is or he isn't, but I'll trust the NFL people that are a lot smarter than I am. But I don't know what he's going to be like as a head coach. I also do think Jim Irsay has just a knack of hurting that team and making enough dumb decisions that do ultimately hurt the team. I don't think the Colts would be a heavy favorite. I do think it would absolutely slide the Tennessee Titans down to the third betting favorite in the AFC South. Would that mean that the Titans ultimately are the third best team in the AFC South? I don't know if I necessarily believe that, but the sports books would. So I don't think Lamar's going anywhere, but Indianapolis would have better odds than the Titans would. Absolutely.
Joe?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. In that hypothetical, I would not. I don't know about heavy favorite. I mean, Indianapolis has, it's like the Titans, has some holes. They're not built necessarily, for Lamar Jackson to come in and run their offense. But I think they'd be the favorite. I mean, I would make them the favorite over the Jacksonville, and agree the Titans would be third, and Bryce Young and the Texans will be coming soon, but would be fourth. But yeah, I think heavy is a little strong.
I also have to ask, how much better does Lamar Jackson really make you? The Jets odds for the Super Bowl have already skyrocketed, and Aaron Rodgers hasn't even put pen to paper yet, because that's just kind of the Aaron Rodgers effect. I do wonder what effect Lamar Jackson would have on the next team that he goes to, if he does go to another team. I think Lamar Jackson is a great quarterback, a top 10 quarterback in the league, absolutely. But Lamar Jackson, in the grand scheme of things in the AFC, he's probably the fifth best quarterback? How much better does that really make a single team if they're not, to Joe's point, prepped and ready for Lamar Jackson to come in and to run that offense?
Well, I mean, at the same time, look at what they've had at quarterback. You know, I mean, it's still a huge upgrade, right? I mean,
For
you'd have
sure.
to
It's an
you'd have
upgrade.
to figure it out. Yeah, I think certainly in this division, it moves the needle.
All right, Jared versus Joe or Caroline versus Joe continues coming up next. Adam Vingan in the question chair. It's all presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
We are your home for every big pass,
Kevin Harvick takes over the race lead.
big wreck,
Trouble turn 2. One car is around and hard into the outside wall.
and big win.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has won the Daytona 500.
Yeah!
Catch every lap of NASCAR on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Now that you've taken on that big job, you shouldn't have to settle for the big box. You've earned a trip to Northern Tool, and we're ready for the details. We know all about the little things that make the biggest difference. Maybe that's why they call us a problem solver's paradise. From pressure washers to power tools, pallet jacks to push carts, Northern Tool and Equipment carries the brands you depend on, like North Star, DeWalt, Milwaukee, and Strongway. We're made for this. Come see us in store or shop online at northerntool.com.
20 years ago, when Genesis Diamonds came to Nashville, this was one of the most expensive cities in America for diamond jewelry. Our radical approach and no middleman pricing changed that forever. And now we're doing it again, this time with lab-grown diamonds. We were shocked to find out what the other mall stores and the other big radio advertisers were charging. They sell their platinum 4-carat VS2 lab-grown earrings for $15,720. We sell them for $6,900. Their 3.08 carat lab-grown round diamond with G-Color VS2 clarity is $10,045. We sell it for $5,900. Looks like they might be going back to the old ways. If they're charging this much on lab-grown diamonds, kind of makes you wonder what else they're selling at the same outrageous markup. Nashville, we are not going backwards. At Genesis Diamonds, our non-commissioned trusted advisors are here to give you all the information with details you can trust and prices you can count on. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters and a game and a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home, and the men who use PTO to catch afternoon basketball in March with the boys. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Who wants to settle for a single TV? With more TVs, bigger screens, plus our fabulous scenic views, there's more to watch at Twin Peaks.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Jared Stillman versus Joe Rexrode. Now on Stillman and Company.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game.
Jared versus Joe, Caroline versus Joe today, presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Chase McCabe, Adam Vingan in for Jared today. Caroline Fenton is here from Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace, weekdays 11 to 2, and also Joe Rexrode, one half of Robbie and Rexrode, mornings 6 to 9 on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Just seeing this real quick, longtime NFL referee Bill Levy passing away at the age of 76. Officiated for a very long time in the NFL and just saw that on Twitter. So Hate to see that. But, Adam, I pass it back to you.
All right. Well, we've got the Final Four this weekend, starting this weekend. A very interesting Final Four. We've got Florida Atlantic and San Diego State in one semifinal matchup, Miami and Connecticut in the other. My dear basketball Benny Joe, you go first. Who you got in the Final Four?
I'm going to go UConn to me is playing the best basketball. And by the way, I did have UConn in my Final Four on an otherwise horrific bracket.
Joe, can you remind the audience who you picked to win the national championship this year?
A little boiler up, baby. I'm never boilering up again after this year.
Well, you got Fairleigh Dickinson, didn't you?
You should have known better, Joe. You know better than that.
Man, I got enamored with the unguardable 7'4" guy, but no, I think UConn. I will say that Miami is woo. And as an ACC guy, as a Duke fan, Bingen, you probably watch more Miami than other people.
Yes.
This year, they are a really good team. That comeback against Texas was incredible. But I got to go UConn, and I'm going to go. I'm going to go San Diego State, and that's kind of against my better judgment too, because I do think FAU obviously saw them up close last week against Tennessee when in a game that looked like they were basically being controlled. And then you saw what they did against K-State and Marquise Nolan. They are an incredibly tough team. But San Diego State, that defense and what they did when they're down, 11 in the second half against Alabama, just gritty. And that's their identity. So I think a grinder of a game between San Diego State and UConn is coming up on Monday.
I think UConn's absolutely going to be in it. And I think that UConn-Miami might even be a better game than the national championship ultimately will be, because I think Miami's been an underrated team all tournament long. I think it'll be UConn, and I'll go FAU. It could really be a toss-up between the two, but FAU just plays with so much toughness. I think ultimately at the end of it all, UConn's going to be holding a trophy. But I will say this about the Final Four this year. I love it, because I love a good underdog. I think that it's made the tournament so much fun. I think the more upsets, the better. That's what March is for, is watching all of the Goliaths go down and watching these itty-bitty, teeny-weeny little schools like Fairleigh Dickinson that you've never even heard of before, be the biggest story in all of sports. So I love it. I do feel like overall, though, this Final Four has so much less pizzazz to it. I just feel like it doesn't have the same oomph that we're used to every year. Like last year, we were so lucky. We had UNC and Duke and Coach K's final game. And then this year, it's no disrespect to San Diego State and Florida Atlantic, but like San Diego State and Florida Atlantic in the Final Four, it just nationwide, it doesn't have the same wow factor or it factor. It doesn't feel the same as it normally does going into Final Four weekend. I think Sweet 16, Elite 8 had all of the kind of oomph and pizzazz because you still had Alabama. You still had some of the heavy hitters. But now it just feels like, these dinky little schools are in it. I love it, but overall, it just doesn't have the same it factor.
I mean, the residents of Del Boca Vista are probably very excited about FAU being in the Final Four. But yeah, I get it. Like I saw something that the lowest get-in price for the secondary market for the men's Final Four was like $99.
And the lowest price for the women's Final Four?
Yeah, way lower than the women.
$240 is the cheapest ticket for the women's basketball tournament. It's probably because of LSU.
Well,
honestly,
here's
what everyone's coming to see.
Here's a question for Joe. This is not an actual part of the competition. When did Jim Larrañaga add the Enye to his name? The little symbol on top of the N. When did that happen? Is that a recent thing?
I don't. It was not. That was not the case of George Mason.
It definitely was not the case of George Mason.
Yeah. I think that's happened since Miami. One thing I will add, and I agree, obviously last year, brand name-wise, it was phenomenal. But, the funny thing about last year is, North Carolina last year was like a bubble team a lot of the year. Like, even though it's North Carolina, it actually was a very average team that happened to catch fire. Like North Carolina, their profile a year ago was not as good as FAU's this year. And I understand different, league and all that, but you know what I mean? Like, actually – the basketball, like the metrics, the Ken Pom and everything, would tell you going into this tournament that FAU is a much better team and bet to make the Final Four than North Carolina a year ago. But, yes, the general fan gets more excited about the brand names, of course. So I think we'll probably see that reflected in the ratings, and we already, as you guys are saying, seeing it in the tickets.
Yeah, I mean, it's UNC. Ken Palm be
Right,
damned.
it's UNC, but that's the thing. Like the last 2 years, UNC's been, and I know Vingan loves this. They've been pretty bad. I mean, like they had a couple weeks where they caught fire, and other than that, they're pretty bad team. So, but then again, Duke lost to Tennessee this year. So what are you going to do?
Oh, Joe.
I just lost.
GB Joe whipping out his orange and white bites.
Oh boy. Do we even have to ask the last question? No, we're okay. So we were talking about NFL rule changes earlier and some other bylaws passed, and I think the one that has caused, that has engendered the most conversation is the idea of flexible scheduling for Thursday night football. Bad idea or worst idea? Caroline, you go first.
It's not the worst idea ever in America, but it's a pretty bad idea. And it's because I think it's the NFL showing where their allegiances truly lie. It's not to the fans who might make plans, let's say in early September. Let's say they're, Dolphins fans. Let's say Miami's coming to Nashville. These Miami fans are saying, hey, let's go to Nashville for the weekend. Watch the Dolphins-Titans game on Sunday afternoon for a noon kickoff. We're going to have a great time, whatever. We make all these travel plans. And then it gets flexed into Thursday night football. This was John Mara's point. It was like such a slap in the face to the fans that you have no idea when your game is ultimately going to be played. One thing. The second thing is playing on Thursday night is I've never done it. I've played in the league, but I can only imagine how difficult it is on players mentally and physically to not be prepared to play on a Thursday and all of a sudden now you have a short week. I think that it's such an obvious move by the NFL to appease Amazon. I think Amazon probably went to Roger Goodell, Jeff Bezos, sat him down and said, look, I'm paying you billions of dollars to put your product on our streaming service. And we were stuck with the Broncos-Colts game last year on Thursday Night Football. Like there were some serious clunkers on Thursday Night Football. And Amazon probably wants the ability to put better games on Thursday Night Football. I understand it from a business perspective, but I think from a football perspective, when the Shield tells everyone that fans and players are their number one priorities, and then you turn around and make a decision like that to put money before your fans and your players, I think it's backwards, and I think it shows where the NFL's priorities are, which is fine. You're a money-making organization. You make a whole lot of money doing it. I get it. I just think it's not very fair to players and fans.
I think that's a correct diagnosis of what's happening here, and I think it's just an absolute load of crap, like so much that comes out of Goodell's office. First of all, the idea that the NFL should ever speak again on player safety, just absolutely save it next time you want to say anything about it. Guys on these, it's a joke. Guys on these teams, they know every year when the Thursday night game is coming, because it's that difficult to get going for it. And sure, you have a longer break afterward, but to rally back up for a Thursday night game is a big deal. Look, hey, you know what? There's a CBA, and the players negotiated in, and ultimately, if you're going to keep, signing up for stuff in the CBA, that's what it is. Look, that's the trade-off when you're negotiating. So I get that, but this now, you can spring this on someone. Teams can have multiple Thursday night. I just think the way it was, no, it's not perfect. You're going to have some bad games on TV, but it's such an ask already for these guys to try to play this game at any kind of a decent level on a Thursday night, and this is garbage.
Garbage.
So what if let me throw this in there. And for Thursday night games in general, it might be hard to do this. But what if the NFL, they're going to have their schedule release soon, so we'll know what the schedule looks like. But what if they, with flex scheduling specifically more for Sunday night and Monday night, they adopted a college football kind of scheduling where the weeks, so Titans Jags will be week 13, but you don't know what day or start time it's going to be yet. That they wait, and maybe it's 4 weeks at a time that they announce what day and what start time so they can kind of see how the season is going, similar to what we see in other sports in college football.
Yeah, they have. Obviously college football is, it's usually like a 12-day window, the Monday, right? So, I mean, I have to at least have that much time. But still, I mean, the college stuff is just time of day, right? It's going to be the noon, it's going to be the 3:30, it's going to be a night game.
Right.
And even that, you get 12 days. So, at least you would hope you'd have a couple weeks, if not a month. So, yeah, I mean, certainly you can't spring it on someone on like, hey, by the way, we're up to Thursday, like on Sunday night. You can't do that. I would hope it would be at least a month. But again, so it's like, I guess like to Caroline's point, like Denver was a great example last year of just a team everyone thought was going to be so exciting and good and was loaded up in primetime games. So I suppose like something like this could take care of that. But I mean, if you have a month notice, a lot of things can still change within that month anyway, right?
Right.
That's kind of what I'm thinking because, I mean, overall, you do already know who you're playing. Like, if it just says Week 13 Jacksonville, you already know that, and it's probably most likely on a Sunday, but it would be better at least to have some leeway, and you're not making these schedules so far in advance and then changing them right up to the week. But I think it's still, it still doesn't change it. It still doesn't change the mentality of having to play that Thursday night game. And I still just go into work out the processes, work out whatever would work best with the schedule. However the NFL wants to do it, fine. I still go back to it's just frustrating how much the NFL prioritizes money over anything else. And I get it. I know. Again, it's a business. It's just every single time something comes out like this, like we want to prioritize the fans. Joe's point, we prioritize player safety, and then you make decisions that don't go along with what you said are your priorities. It's the same sentiment, I think.
It's also, to me, and maybe it doesn't matter because the teams that don't get on are bad teams, but think about the advantage if you never have one as compared with a team that has two,
Right.
I mean, that's a pretty significant imbalance in scheduling. Again, it's probably related to team quality, so maybe it won't matter too much, but it's still a pretty big difference.
All right, Adam, you have you got one more thought? Caroline, go ahead.
Yeah, just one more quick thought. Yeah, because if you do the month in advance, Chase, to your point, I think that makes it better, but also so much changes in a month in this league. Players get hurt, teams get hot, and then get really cold. So it kind of almost defeats the purpose of what Amazon wants to do.
Well, you could do 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever they would decide. I mean, I think that the one thing is the league they're making decisions on this, and I feel like they're making decisions on this and not consulting the PA, and they should probably consult the PA. But they don't care. They don't care.
You'd think.
Adam, have you made your decision?
I have. I thought it was a good round of debate. We embraced debate,
yes,
as we often do here on 102.5 The Game. Although Joe took a shot directly at me by mentioning Tennessee beating Duke. Although Caroline made passing reference to my worst sports fan experience ever, which was North Carolina knocking out Duke, not in the Final Four, but also reminded me of when Carolina beat Duke in Mike Krzyzewski's final home game. And for bringing up such terrible memories, Joe wins today.
That's fair.
You're not petty.
That is fair.
I tried to get in there too. At least we both took some Duke shots today, Caroline. I mean, I think it's almost our duty, right?
Yes.
That's what we can come together to do. We will band together to go against Duke.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, great job as always. Appreciate it. Caroline will listen tomorrow starting at 11, and Joe will listen bright and early at 6 tomorrow morning.
Awesome.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right. Joe Rexrode, Robbie and Rexrode, 6 to 9 weekdays here on The Game, and Caroline Willie and D. Mace, Caroline Fenton, 11 to 2 weekdays. Well done by you, Adam, in the questions chair today. Coming up next, back into the Titans. Is it really the cap, or are we just wrong about the Titans spending? We will discuss that coming up next. It is Stillman and Company. Chase and Adam in today for Jared, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
This is Colton Sissons, and this is Smashville.
Feeds now, Sissons coming on for the left circle, and Colton Sissons puts it in the net.
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network. ESPN 1025, The Game.
This week at the Electronic Express Markdown Mania event, get instant savings of up to 40% off in every department, including all 4K TVs, laptops and tablets, housewares, gaming consoles, speakers, and more. At Electronic Express, we have up to 50% off all your appliance needs in stock and ready to deliver. Plus, buy now, pay later with up to 3 years free financing. Shop the Markdown Mania sales event at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Gary Ashton here. People walk up to me all the time and say, don't sell without the intel. This message couldn't be more true. Right now, it's a fantastic time to buy or sell your home in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. No one has more intel than the Gary Ashton team. So what is this intel we keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without stagings or showings? Intel on where to find your next home so that you can sell your current home while the market is hot? An intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity. For more intel, visit GaryAshton.com, where we can give you the insight and the most up-to-date real estate intel in Nashville. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate team of the Nashville Predators. Get the confidence to sell your home and find the dream address without the stress. Visit us today at GaryAshton.com. That's GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
Sometimes the best part of the day is when the day is done. The Rusty Nail in Hermitage has been the best part of the day for many since their doors opened. They provide a great local atmosphere with a big back patio and volleyball courts, plus great drinks like $3 2-lane beer drafts and great food, especially the wings. Call now to reserve your private events or corporate parties, or simply call up a few old pals and tell them to meet you down at the Rusty Nail. See you there. Cheers.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
Of course I use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to clean tough messes off my stovetop and bathtub. But then I discovered I can also use it to easily clean my patio furniture and even my shoes. I'm hooked.
And when wipes won't cut it, I use Magic Eraser Sheets. They're thin and flexible erasers, perfect for everyday messes, like gunk on my counters and sinks. They really are magical.
The reviews are in. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and Sheets make cleaning look easy.
When you want live and local, if they were just better at the offensive line,
You can be a contender in the AFC again.
they've had more winning seasons than not. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years?
The AFC now is so deep at quarterback. Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Hey Nashville, this is David Price. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Join 102.5 The Game and the Preds Energy Team at Brewhouse South in Cool Springs tomorrow for the Preds Road Watch Party as your Nashville Predators take on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Stop by and enjoy Brewhouse South's 70 beers on tap, classic American menu along with Cajun Southwestern Island comfort food. That's 102.5 The Game and Preds Energy Team at Brewhouse South in Cool Springs. Chase McCabe, Adam Vingan here with you. Stillman and company in for Jared today. He'll be back on Monday. For those of you that asked, he's on vacation. He'll be back starting on Monday. But discussing the NFL and the Titans in particular, and, you know, there's been this narrative, and we talked a little bit about this earlier, Adam, but there's been this narrative of, oh, the Titans are, you know, not spending a lot of money. They're kind of doing things on the cheap this year because Amy Adams Strunk and her family are preparing to put a big chunk towards the stadium. That, you know, over $800 million they're putting for in any overrun that may happen. So potentially close to $1 billion is going to come out of their pocket to go towards this $2.1 billion stadium. Paul Kaharski of paulkaharski.com was on Robbie and Rexrode earlier today, and this came up with him.
Just in general, PK, do you believe that just the stadium situation is in any way influencing how the Titans are going about their business and building a football team? And I'm talking financially with Amy Adams Strunk.
I don't. And I did going into the owners meeting, and that's one thing I got from there. I think Certainly the finances of this year for the football team are salary cap driven, not cash money driven. And the league is so behind this, and she's in good financial health. So I don't think that there's any qualms about that. I think, too, this kind of removes – look, 2027 is far away, right, in terms of team building and all of that. I don't think it's a factor in anything anymore for right now, right? You're not doing any planning for 2027 like, oh, we need to be good at 2020. It's just too far off to kind of set your schedule for it now, to me. So you worry about it again maybe in a year when you're setting things, or in 2 years. And I always thought 2026 seemed ambitious.
That was Paul Kaharski earlier this morning on Robbie and Rexrode, discussing the spending. Now, as most of this audience is familiar with, there is a lot of the cap is fake talk, and I am of the belief that I think that it exists, but I believe that it's very easily manipulated and can be, molded like Play-Doh, and, you can push stuff down the line, and that's kind of what the Titans have done. And so to Paul's point, his belief is that Rand Carthon is going ahead and just letting some of the cap stuff that the cap, situation that John Robinson got them in, they're working through that this year to try and get them in a better situation moving forward. They don't have a ton of cap space. They've made some cuts. Obviously, there could be more to go. There could be some more restructuring. Kevin Byard, they're trying to restructure him. As he has almost a $20 million cap hit. Ryan Tannehill has a $36 million cap hit. Harold Landry is another one you could restructure. And so there's different little things that they're trying to do to make some of this work within the cap. But I found it interesting that Paul, had a kind of originally thought that they were saving money for the stadium, but now not so much. And 4 years is a long way off.
Yeah, and Paul reported on his website that construction of the stadium is not expected to begin until the 2024 off season. So that is why they now expect to begin playing at a new stadium in 2027 as opposed to 2026. But as you said, and as Paul said, that you do want to plan multiple years in advance, but it is very difficult to plan financially between now and then. When you consider all of the changes that could be made and and all of that. So yeah, I don't think the stadium is, as Paul said, an issue when it comes to the finances of the team and what they are and are unable to do when it comes to adding to the roster. But as I said earlier, I think the key is whatever they do between now and then, you want to make sure that when that stadium does open, as Paul has reported in 2027, that you have a championship caliber team starting that week one on that field, presumably, because you want to open that stadium with a team that people want to come watch.
Yeah, and look, part of that process could begin with this draft if they were to, draft a quarterback or a young player. I mean, hypothetically that could be, I think quarterback is the one that you look at because that's what you build your team around, and so I think that's obviously if they take a quarterback at 11, whether it's Levis or Richardson, maybe Hendon Hooker they've identified as someone they believe can be their franchise quarterback, then, the hope is that guy is going to be QBing this team when that stadium opens in 2027. But it's a long way off to, really think about, all right, you're going to start putting building blocks together for the what that team is going to look like in 4 years. A lot can change in 4 years. Mike Vrabel might not even be here in 4 years. You never know. So it just a lot can change for sure.
Yeah, and I am really interested to see. I mean, I know that this is a hot button issue in Nashville politically in terms of the benefits of the stadium. Pro stadium politicians, see this as a great boost for our economy. while those opposed look at how oftentimes stadiums are said to be boons for the economy, and it doesn't work out that way. That it actually causes more headaches, and a lot of the promises that are made in terms of, fueling the economy, the local economy, are not often met. So, I mean, it's probably going to get done. And look, if it means that we get bigger events in Nashville, like a Final Four or a WrestleMania or something like, or Super Bowl, like, I'm all for that as a sports fan, but I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, I have a thought on that, on something you just said on it being a, an economic boom for a city. And we'll discuss that coming up next because I've seen it firsthand in this city. He's Adam Vingan. I'm Chase McCabe in for Jared Stillman today. That's coming up here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
185! Every team needs a quarterback.
185! Take!
That's why we have
Hasselbeck, bootleg, rollout, toss, touchdown!
Tim.
You can run good plays at the right time.
ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck gives his expertise on all things NFL.
You evaluate players, and then you're turning them over to the coaching staff.
Every Tuesday at noon.
At the right time.
With Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Tim on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We buy any car. We buy any car. We buy any car. Any.
Did you know trading in your car at a dealer could cost you money? A recent study found consumers who trade in their car pay an average of $990 more. So don't trade in. Sell it to We Buy Any Car. Learn more and get your free online valuation now at WeBuyAnyCar.com.
Find out how much your car's worth at We Buy Any Car.
Social Furniture's Spring Home Makeover Sales event is going on now with the latest styles and colors in stock, ready for immediate delivery and setup. If you don't need a fancy schmancy showroom or the stress of a high-pressure sales team, but you don't want to pay high-quality prices, come to Social Furniture. All top-quality furniture and mattresses are on sale now. Don't miss this Extreme Home Makeover Sales event that's going on now at Social Furniture.
I shop at Social Furniture because of the way I'm treated.
That's Social Furniture on Charlotte Avenue.
Cards issued by Celtic Bank, member FDIC. Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 3.5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
Hey, it's John Tesh. You want to know how to get better rates, better coverage, and better service on your home and auto insurance? Work with Zander Insurance. I know it's a big promise, but this team delivers. They've been around for almost 100 years and have earned the privilege of representing dozens of insurance companies so they can shop, compare, and find you the best options available. More options mean more savings, and in many cases, better coverage. But it doesn't stop there. Each year, they review your coverage to make sure your rates stay competitive. Nobody else does that. And when it comes to service, just check out their ratings. Zander is one of the top agencies in the industry, and they earned that spot with their commitment to making sure their clients are taken care of like family. That's what sets them apart. Go to Zander.com for quick online quotes or call 800-356-1780 for that personal touch that you've been missing.
A show that lives and breathes sports.
Focus in.
From the SEC.
Credit to the Alabamas, the Georgias, and the Ohio States of the world.
To the Preds.
They've been in a lot of really tight games, but they're not winning enough of them.
To the Titans.
He's talking about what this franchise has built over the years.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace.
What is this? Check it out.
Weekdays from 11 to 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions, and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Nashville's best deal of the week is from Hot Works in Goodlettsville. Open 24/7 in their infrared, virtually led sauna classes. Choose from Hot Cycle, Hot Blast, Hot Thunder, Hot Yoga, Hot Bar, none and more. Right now, join for just $39 in time for their grand opening on April 1st. That's $60 off at theGameNashville.com/deals. Get more workout in less time at Hot Works. Chase McCabe, Adam Vingan in for Jared Stillman today. Ian Safar along for the ride as well as we put a bow on things. Now, you asked me about, the stadiums and the big events and what they mean for a city and all of that. I remember Nashville, Tennessee in the mid-'90s when there was no Bridgestone Arena, when there was no Nissan Stadium, when there was no Music City Center, when there was no Fifth and Broadway downtown, when you didn't really go downtown, when you didn't go to Broadway. Municipal Auditorium was where all the concerts or Starwood Amphitheater is where a lot of concerts were too. But, Greer Stadium, Vanderbilt, that was it. Those were our places for sports. We had the Sounds and Vanderbilt Athletics and Belmont Athletics and Lipscomb and TSU, those things, but that was really it. And I saw a change in this city once the Predators got here, the Titans got here, those facilities were built. It was an interesting, and I was a young kid, but I remember, then Mayor Phil Bredesen, fighting to get the Titans here, fighting to get the Predators here, to get those buildings built. And the fact that, they put an arena right on Broadway changed Broadway. They closed down the strip clubs and massage parlors and all the things that were there. And now you have what you have on Broadway with different, honky-tonks and bars. And, now I didn't anticipate country music stars putting their names on everything, but, that's where we're at. But it changed things. And then all of a sudden you got the Hilton. That got built, and other hotels, and they built the Music City Center with Mayor Dean. He really fought to put that, and the it all kind of builds on itself, because I don't think the Music City Center happens if you don't see the growth and the success because of the Predators and the Titans and getting pro sports here and getting those buildings here. And so I know there are people that and look, this is a different Nashville than the one I grew up in, and some ways are good and some ways not so good. It's very much a tourist city now, but I think it's also been good for the growth of this area to have pro sports and to have those buildings. And, while Bridgestone Arena, the Predators have done a tremendous job taking care of it and putting money into it, and it's a building that's almost 30 years old, and you wouldn't know it by looking at it, that the Nissan Stadium was built on a sweetheart deal. It was built on the cheap, and it's time for a new one. And I think the enclosed stadium that is proposed is going to do for the future of Nashville what the previous building did in more ways. And you mentioned some of the events. Vince McMahon or Triple H or whoever's running it will have WrestleMania here the year after that place opens. So if it opens in 2027, WrestleMania is here in 28. Which means a whole weekend, as you know, Adam. You get the big event at the new stadium. There's going to be NXT, Raw, SmackDown, Hall of Fame. That'll all be at Bridgestone Arena. You'll have everything. That's a whole weekend of money-making opportunities for businesses in Nashville. The Final Four will come here. The national championship and the college football playoff will come here. The Super Bowl will come here. We'll get at least one. I bet we get more than one. But just getting one is a huge economic boom. Not to mention, other events, big concerts. I went to the Garth Brooks concert that got rained out. It doesn't get rained out at this new place. So it opens the door for so many different things that can come to our city. And, here's the other thing. This SummerSlam, WWE likes, with that pay-per-view, premium live event.
Mhm.
They, they've had it in the same city multiple years. And I know the rumor was out there that they wanted to come back, to Nashville. So I just think the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, and look, I would love for all of those events to come here as a sports fan. Nashville clearly has shown an ability to handle and host major events. I mean, we'll have one this summer with the NHL draft and the NHL awards. The NHL awards will be here as well. I believe it's the first time they've been held in the same city. That's the draft and the awards. Because a couple years ago it was with the Stanley Cup final. So yeah, it's great. I mean, that's why people want to come here. So I will be interested to just see more so how that area is developed and whether or not, is there a neighborhood built on the East Bank? Do we want a neighborhood built on the East Bank? Like those are the kinds of questions that I need to be more educated on. But I know the questions that, critics or opponents of the stadium are asking.
What I hope they do, have you been to Truist Park in Atlanta?
I have not.
Okay, so what they've done there is they basically they have shops and residents and everything all around it.
Mhm.
It's called the Battery, and it's a really cool place to hang out before and after a game. That's what I hope they do, around the stadium, because I think too many times, these cities will build an arena or build a stadium and then that's it. And I think now you need more around it. I mean, the Bridgestone Arena, obviously, you walk out on Broadway, so you don't have to really worry about that.
Right.
But, I think it would be cool to walk across the bridge at this new stadium, and then there's some bars and, stuff over there. So, you're not having – I mean, and if people want – a lot of people will pregame on Broadway and walk over, and that's fine. You can still do that. But if you have other options around it and then, residents and stuff like that, I think that would just be big, and I believe that's what they're going to end up doing. It's just like look at First Horizon Park where we're going to be on Friday. That was not an area that really anything was going on, and now a lot's going on. You can live down there. There's bars. You walk out of First Horizon. I mean, there's a bar in First Horizon, but you walk out and you can go to any of the places around there, which I think there needs to be more of that.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
And I would like to see I would like to see that happen. I mean, everywhere you go now, there's more being built in Nashville. There really is not much land left for people to build houses. I mean, in my neighborhood, recently they tore down an old house on a pretty small plot of land, and they've already built two tall and skinnies where that one house used to be. And it's amazing how fast it went up. So, I've only lived here. You've been here your whole life. I've lived here for 8 years now, and even going downtown, it's a lot different. Like,
oh yeah,
the Amazon building wasn't here when I moved here. Capitol View wasn't here when I moved here. The Ashurion building wasn't here when I moved here. The Grand Hyatt, the W, the Westin, the JW, they all weren't here when I moved here. Like, it's crazy how fast things have changed in even 8 years.
What's funny, real quick, is like you said, Capitol View. I hear all these like Nashville Yards and Capitol View and different, like, describing different areas of town, and when people do that, I go, what is that? And then they describe it, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, where that is. Like, we've put names on parts of town because it's grown so much, and it cracks me up.
Right.
And then they want to be like, oh yes, historic. No, we never called it that. I don't know what you're talking about. Like the Gulch. The Gulch is another one. But anyway, Adam, it's been fun today. I know you're out tomorrow. TD will be in. Teron Davenport will be in tomorrow. And you're back on Friday, and we'll be at First Horizon Park. It'll be fun.
Can't wait.
Stick around, Preds Insiders. That is coming up next.